Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the ChazmaN podcast, where, as always, this is your favorite place to hear all of the nerdy video game news and other announcements that have happened throughout the week that has kind of caught the attention of me and my buddies, Phoenix and MetalGamer. As always, on the screen, you should see some audio locations if you prefer that. Feel free throughout the week to check out some of the video highlights that I post. And also, we'd love to read any engagement questions, anything at all you guys may have. So as always, here's my buddies Phoenix and MetalGamer. What's going on, guys? You're out of the proverbial basement, or is it a real basement? I think it's a
No,
real
I've
one.
just redecorated. That's all. I'm decided I'm gonna turn this crummy basement into a home. So
Or like my attic. Thank you very much.
I forgot you're in an attic. That's
Yeah, I'm in the
you
I'm
gotta
in
get
the
the lore
dust.
right.
we've got
Yeah.
we've got real deep lore. Maybe we should be Game of the Year
Ooh.
instead of Elden Ring or something.
Ooh,
Ooh.
throwing that shade, So,
Me
but no,
gusta.
been
We've
good.
got better gameplay.
We haven't had a podcast since what? Before Thanksgiving? Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been about 3 weeks, I
Yeah.
would say. We definitely pushed it back, and then I ended up going on vacation, and I think Gamer did as well, right? Or you were out of town for a bit.
Yeah, had a few shows to play, so I figured, go on vacation for a bit.
Yeah.
No such
All
fun
right,
for
guys.
me.
Why
You don't
you
get
get to
vacations.
spend time with the family, huh? That's
Yeah, that's
uh,
always quote unquote fun. So
all right. So real quick, just before I get into it, I just wanted to say, unfortunately, if you guys didn't see, Jason David Frank passed away over our little break, and just as kid children of the '80s and '90s, I just wanted to kind of pass it over to my friends. I mean, what did you guys think? I mean, I know we're all huge Power Ranger fans. I mean, I know we're all taking it pretty hard.
yeah, man. Power Rangers was part of my childhood. Every Saturday
Hmm.
morning, not even Saturday morning. I think I played like every morning before school. I'd watch, whatever the episode was. And yeah, I mean that saga of the Green Ranger and his turn, man, that was like legendary, like
Hmm.
true, like I don't know, stuff of legend there. So no, I miss for one, I miss those times. I miss being a kid, eating my cereal, watching some Jason David Frank and everybody else along with it. But he would missed. It was cool because he's been doing this for so long. Like he didn't just do this character for X amount of years and then die out.
Yeah,
He's
and
been pretty much this has been his career for the past 30
he's
years.
been a part of the convention circuit for Power Rangers for like ever. He's always been like, the main one kind of at every con and everything. Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, it's cool because it's not just the conventions that he's been involved in, but even like it's what Sabin Entertainment, whatever it is, the guys in charge of Power Rangers.
Saban.
Saibon.
Yeah, they've kept him
Yeah.
involved, like even in like the shows. They brought back his character and like reinvented him throughout the years. He's been in like comics, like as a new character. So I think it's cool that they kept him in that long. He's been I think you find that a lot with a lot of like people who make their career with like kid shows or stuff like that. They end up being resentful over so many years about it, but he really just kind of seemed like he cherished that time, really kind of celebrated it. So he will be missed. Very sad. But yeah.
Yeah, I found it kind of surprising. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, "Wait, what?" I had to do like a double take because it's like we saw him at one of the conventions. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
we've seen him.
and
I think
we
MegaCon like
yeah.
what 7 years
yeah
ago, something like that.
yeah we sat in on one of the talks and the question and Q and A's or whatever, and he seemed like such a awesome, you know, down to earth person. And he
Mm-hmm.
was he was touching people's lives, dude. Like, remember the people who were crying that they were
Hmm.
asking they weren't even asking him questions. They were just like telling him how much they loved him. Like people who went through hard times and they were consistently like, I don't know, breaking down. It's just like,
Hmm.
gee, this and then to hear this, I was like, wait, what? So it kind of made my head spin a little bit, and I was like, why?
Well, yeah. Well, kind of similar to, unfortunately, we lost Kevin Conroy and Jason David Frank, two huge '90s characters, within a span of a couple weeks, and
Yeah.
kind of similar to Conroy, like it kind of shows you that, like, unfortunately, outside of the out of the eye, people are going through things that, they may not outwardly tell you about it, but definitely in the background, Frank had his, problems, and then Conroy was dealing with sickness. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, you never know what people are kind of going through,
Yeah.
or dealing with. I mean,
Yeah, they're real people, just like you and me. Like they have their own issues and problems that they have to go through. And I mean, I know there was a lot going on with, I guess, like the past couple of years with Jason David Frank and like his wife and a whole bunch of other stuff. So he was battling his own internal demons, unfortunately. But I don't know. It's sad no matter how you look at it. But I'm praying for his family. Hope that they can come to peace with everything, and that his legacy lives on. I mean, I don't know where you guys all stand with stuff like that, but his character is gonna live on for generations.
oh yeah, yeah, he'll forever be him and uh, shoot, I forgot her, or Kimberly. Him and Kimberly are like the faces of Power Rangers basically at this point. And I definitely think.
We lost a lot of people this year too. Like just in general, there's been a lot of.
I'm sure.
We lost the guy who smashed the watermelons too, didn't we?
Yeah,
Gallagher.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we lost Taylor Hawkins. We lost so many people.
I forgot Taylor Hawkins.
Taylor Hawkins. Yeah.
I mean, not Gallagher was pretty old for his age, but
well, I say Gallagher was a little before my time, but I knew of him.
Well, I think it was tragic. We've lost. I mean, you're always gonna lose people. People, are never gonna live forever. But we've lost a lot of people young this year, like between Taylor Hawkins and Jason David Frank. Like, it's always tragic to see someone go. I mean, you don't know when their prime is, but before their time for sure. So.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I would feel bad if I didn't also mention that I'm a huge Power Ranger fan, but for me, the show wasn't my favorite Power Ranger thing. It was the movie. I used to love the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, and
it doesn't hold up, though. I tell you,
it doesn't. I watched it recently.
Too bad the game sucks too.
I liked a couple of the games. They had the beat 'em up one, and then they had the one where you played as basically the just big kaiju fighting robots. That was cool.
Yeah, the kaiju one was okay, but the other one was
movies like that and the Ninja Turtle original movie. Like I used to watch those movies on loop constantly.
Ninja Turtle still holds up, at least the first one. Power
it does,
Rangers less
at least.
Let's not talk about the third one.
Yeah.
For another
podcast. Someday we will. Yeah. All right. So once again, we'll run through some of our topics for the day. We have a couple of games to talk about. It's a very Pokemon heavy episode here. We will finish our thoughts on God of War Ragnarok, and then we will go into our, of course, highlights from the Horde topics. And then we have a pretty large amount of speedrun news topics. So we actually have quite a bit, and we're already a ways in. So I say we go ahead and start with. So what did you guys want to just finish up our thoughts on God of War Ragnarok?
Yeah,
just to start.
That sounds good. Why don't you go first, Chaz?
I want me to go first. So if you didn't get to see our last podcast, we didn't get to finish the game. Me and Phoenix were almost at the exact same point at about the 20. You say the 20-hour mark, or you were at the 30, but that's because you had played more side stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were still a couple hours away from the ending, so we got to, I don't know, over the next couple days after that episode, we got to, kind of finish the game almost at the same point. And, I guess just kind of overall thoughts on the ending as a whole. I would just say, I remember saying that I think I was slightly lower on this game versus God of War 2018. And upon completing it, it's hard to say. Like, I feel like I'm almost right dead at 2018. Like, I don't know if I could say I liked the game as a whole more or less. Which, is that a good thing? Because that means just, like, the quality was maintained and it was still fun. And
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, and this kind of goes back to what we're talking about. This game, I almost don't think you should think of it as a sequel. Yeah, it's you gotta look at this as the whole package. So don't say, 2018 versus Ragnarok. Like, if you think about from the beginning of 2018 to the end of Ragnarok, how do you feel about that whole experience? That's how I would kind of, try to gauge your expectations about it. So, I mean, the fact that had similar feelings of quality and, polish and narrative kind of follow through. I mean, I think that speaks to the quality of both games and how well they were able to kind of stitch it together.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of where I left off.
Well, you hadn't gotten to Asgard yet, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I just killed Heimdall, I think is where I left off at.
Oh, okay. So I was a little further than that. I think I was just about to go into Asgard for, the whole Ragnarok battle, and you were like maybe an hour before that, because you hadn't found what was it, Surtur or any of that yet, right?
No, yeah, you're right.
How do you feel about that part?
Which
So going
I actually
into the whole
really,
Surtur battle, and then throwing him down the galactic pit or whatever it was.
and then attacking the Valkyries and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed Surtur. I think he was one of my favorite characters in the whole game for the short amount of time you
Mm-hmm.
got to kind of talk with him. He was very witty. I remember he had some jokes in there. I can't remember exactly. It's been a few weeks, but he was really cool. I really liked, he was a character that had been kind of built up in 2018. I remember he had been, oh shoot, what am I doing? Forgot my B-roll. But yeah, he was fun. I enjoyed him. I'll be honest though, his impact didn't really feel all that important in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all he kind of did was blow up a door, and
Kill
that was
Freya's
it.
brother. Jeez.
Did he? Oh, that's right. I forgot he killed. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Ultimately, for me, it didn't feel like he was kind of all there.
Yeah, I agree, and I tell you that general kind of feeling that the like not a really, I think, a whole lot of impact really happened just period at the end of the game for me. Like the biggest moments for me of the game were leading up until Ragnarok, like where they fight the big giant wolf, and then they go do a whole Surtur battle, and the Valkyries underneath. Like all that build up was really really good, and they built up a lot of anticipation. And then you get to the actual Ragnarok battle, and I don't know about you, but I felt fairly underwhelmed with that last
I agree.
couple of hours.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about Jormungandr's origins? Did you think that was
I thought that was cool.
cool at all?
Well, I think I kind of pulled this up last time when you were talking about kind of the time travel mechanic. I'd mentioned, they had mentioned something in a conversation where like Thor had knocked someone back through time. That was
because I remember mentioning that God of War 2 was centered all around. Because you were
That's
like,
right.
was time a integral part of any God of War game? I remember we talked about.
But it was cool because you got to see that moment play out from their conversation where he smacks the big snake back, and it ties it all together between that was the origin of him as a Titan. Just like it's a cool bit of lore there how they fit it in. Honestly, that's one of the things that this game does the best and doesn't ever, I think, falter on, is how they really just enrich the game through its lore. And it's cool because it's a very unique take on Norse mythology. Like it isn't exactly your standard tried and true North myths. It has their own take and spin on everything, which I think is really cool. So I don't know, that was good, but I'm trying to think of the best way to kind of express my feelings towards that last hour or so. Like, how did you feel about the siege on Asgard, where you're kind of going through and breaking in and trying to get through the big gate and all that kind of stuff?
Fine. I mean, like I want to say it was. I don't know. To me, it wasn't as I guess cinematic in a way, and I also didn't think you really like fought a really big variety of enemies. It was mainly just continuation of what were they called, the ice.
Yeah, it starts with the H or something like that. I know the undead Norse.
Yeah, you
Azer
just
or
kind of
whatever.
fought a bunch of those creatures, and then it threw you towards the battle at the end. And it was like,
I think what really kind of
it would have
lost,
been.
or where I kind of lost it, like you're right, cinematics when we were looking at it, because like you think about, you have this giant epic battle kind of taking place all around you, like you have the giant snake in the back and Surtur's out there. You almost never see them. They throw you into like these little pits and tunnels and kind of alcoves to fight through, and it's all just very close quarters combat, so you don't get to see the scale of the battle. And I know it's because you're trying to slowly work your way towards actually getting into Asgard, but I don't know if it really brought down the scope of the battle to me, which I thought was kind of lacking. I don't know.
It to me, it's like, I've compared this new age God of War to God of War 3 a lot, but to me it felt like a very, like, if you compare it to the opening scene with God of War 3 with with the Gaia and the Titans versus Olympus and all that stuff. Like for me, it paled in comparison to kind of the I can't think of the word, to kind of the scale of that battle, where like
just felt so much like, you're right, all the older
considering
original
what's
God of War
happening in the
games,
background.
Yeah, they were all about, everything being larger than life. Like you're scaling giant titans, you're scaling Mount Olympus, and they made it feel like you're really tiny in this really big world.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to this, siege on Asgard, and it should feel that way if you're trying to go up this giant mountain. Like, honestly, it felt more impactful when you were playing as Atreus, just climbing the mountain. But, like, with this, you're just, like, down the ground level the whole time, sneaking through these, basically, little tunnels, and then you get to the wall, and then you're just let in kind of deal. Like, yeah, very anticlimactic for that siege portion. The combat, you're
It
right,
was
wasn't
just
anything
like
overly
a
interesting.
it was just like a walking and protect Sindri. That's all
Mm-hmm.
you kind of did.
Yeah.
And it was fine, but I agree. We both are in agreement that I think the scale was, I don't know, compared to the older game, just not all that
Everything just felt
fantastic.
very anticlimactic to me. And I don't want to come across negative. I did enjoy the game, and even the ending overall, I think was good. But the build up that you got those few hours leading up to that final battle, it made you feel like
Mhm.
there should have just been more. Because even after you got past that siege, you finally get into Asgard, you immediately fight Thor. Like there's no like fighting through the city or any of that. You're just bam, Thor. Well, okay, I guess there was a little bit. You had to make your way to him slowly, but there wasn't much that I recall. Do you? I think it was just like a little bit of combat, and then bam, you're at
I
Thor.
don't remember. I don't. Yeah, that's what it felt like to me, honestly. So I guess kind of leading up to it, just I mean, what did you think about the final battle with Thor and Odin? I'm kind of disappointed they were
Fine.
so close to one another and
Yeah.
that they were in the same location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The
I
Thor
mean,
battle, felt like the first Thor battle, but in a less interesting place. Like the first one,
mhm.
you're fighting around this basically frozen lightning strike, which is pretty cool, and then the second one, you're just in front of a building. Like I don't know. The Thor battle was fine. I didn't find it overly like difficult or unique. It was just a bunch of wailing on him, and maybe it was because at that point I had leveled up my character so much. Like Kratos, I think at that point in the game I had just about maxed out most of his armor, so I just kind of pounded on Thor until he was done. So there wasn't really a whole lot there as
I
far as
was
like challenge or anything.
I was more disappointed with the Odin battle than
Mm-hmm.
the Thor battle. Like Odin just, I don't know. Kind of thinking on it after playing the game, I don't know. He just didn't feel that menacing. I guess on the whole, like
Yeah,
I'm
like
not quite sure where they were going with that
it's
character
hard
design.
because the appeal to this Odin or the menacing factor to him is how manipulative he is, right? That he was working behind the scenes and tricking everybody through, his transforming into other people kind of stuff and kind of playing all the hands against everybody. Like that's where the threat from Odin comes from, right? Is his knowledge and understanding and foresight to kind of trick everybody and
Hmm.
manipulate them. He never really came across as this like physical powerhouse, which at the end of a God of War game, it's always going to come down to just I'm going to punch you to death kind of thing. So
Physicality, yeah.
yeah, so when you get down to a fisticuffs with Odin, it's just like he does some teleporting. He's got some Norse god powers, but it doesn't feel impressive or special. Like compare it to like the Zeus fight in God of War 3, and there's like no comparison there. Like
That fight just keeps going on and on.
and like
That fight's pretty
Zeus
crazy.
feels powerful through it. It makes sense for his character. And granted, Zeus, at least the way he was portrayed in these games, is a more imposing kind of physical threat than Odin was. But just the scale of that battle felt different. This Odin battle,
Plus,
you go,
Kratos and him are related, so it makes sense that like
yeah.
their two forces are like.
Well, you have Thor and Odin who are related. They don't share the same physicality. Is that where you're going with that, or?
Oh, I guess. Yeah, you're right.
And granted, that's just once again the developer's interpretation of Odin. Not every Odin has that same kind of lack of physicality, but I don't know. I definitely felt underwhelmed with the Odin battle. Both phases of it, if you will. Like the second phase didn't even really feel all that different to me. I can't recall a bunch of differences, at least mechanically. It once again just came around to me, just chasing around, punching him a lot until he died. So
Yeah, they were a bit underwhelming. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other things that were revealed. I mean, the other thing that happened is I remember the um, Atreus destroys the mask. Therefore, we
mm-hmm.
never get to find out exactly
What's behind
the
the
question that's
tear? Yeah.
behind the yeah. So I'm assuming what that's like the answer to life or the reason for our being
Yeah.
was behind there. We'll never get to. Maybe in the next game, that's what they'll. Maybe Atreus will continue his search out of curiosity for whatever that was.
Maybe, I mean, I
I'm
think,
assuming.
well, we can come back to where Atreus is going in a minute, but I want to kind of focus on those reveals or lack thereof towards the end. So, like, the whole thing building up to this from a narrative standpoint was, will Kratos defy fate, right? Will he find a way to not die? And he does, but did you really, like, did you track with that how that moment even occurred? That he, cheated death? Because I don't feel like they
I don't
really
necessarily think he
telegraphed
cheated
it very
death.
well.
Yeah, well,
Because that was the whole point. He was
I would.
supposed to die. That was the fate, right? Kratos was supposed to die, and he didn't. But like, did you catch on to how or why he didn't die?
No. Or are you gonna answer it? Because I'm not seeing it.
Well, to my understanding, maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but the whole point was, like, and this was the theme throughout the game, Kratos never trusted Atreus. It was against his character to be able to do that, right? And then the last moment, he trusts Atreus, and that's when Atreus makes the change of heart to break the mask and
To
all
destroy
that.
the mask. Yeah.
I guess my point being is, it was such a, if that is the rationale for how they avoided fate, it was either way too subtle, or I don't know, it didn't have enough impact to me, because I don't know, it felt like there was missing some kind of, I don't know, something there at the end that would kind of show how he was able to defy the fates and not die. And they even kind of showed the flip side of it, like, it was supposed to be Kratos lying in Atreus' lap at the end, and instead it was Odin lying in his lap. So they were clearly trying to do some kind of imagery or symbolism there to show there was a shift there where Odin now took Kratos' place to die, but I don't know where that shift took place. I thought was poorly no, okay, I don't want to say poorly executed. Somebody's going to yell at me, but I feel like it could have had a little more context, maybe. And maybe some people will prefer the subtlety, but I don't know. I felt something was lacking there in that little narrative moment.
I definitely, after thinking about it, I think I definitely preferred the ending for 2018. I don't know. 2018's ending was just more. I don't want to say it was more open, but I felt like it had a pretty satisfying place where it kind of left off, where you're just like,
well, you
got answers. You had answers, but many questions opened up. But
the
answers
benefit
that
was
did
2018 was it was such a simpler objective, right? The only thing they had to do in that game was release the mother's ashes. So all the conflict and everything, it didn't really matter how it resolved, it just had to resolve. So I mean, they had some interesting, narrative standpoints with, how Baldur had to die and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately it didn't matter, right? As long as they beat Baldur and he wasn't a hindrance to him anymore, they could move forward to go ahead and spread the ashes. That was going to feel satisfying. This game had so many other ends to tie up, right? The thing with the fates, and then Atreus' history, and Odin's objective, and the stuff with the tear. Like, they had all these different kind of plates spinning, and I don't feel like it was a really satisfying conclusion for all those threads to kind of get wrapped up or tied together. Does that make sense? At least for me.
No, I agree.
And maybe they're just saving some of that. You could be right. Maybe in some sequel or spin-off, they'll come back to that world behind the tear kind of thing or whatnot. Or maybe they'll dig into more to what happened with the fates. But I don't know. I just felt a little lackluster there. And maybe I felt more so because I was already missing out on the big climactic battle side of things. So I was thinking, well, there will at least be some big narrative kind of, filler here at the end to kind of satisfy everything. And I feel like even that was lacking. So I don't know.
No.
I'm not going to say the ending's bad, because I mean, I think as a whole, if you look at the whole game, the ending served its
really
purpose. It just, to me, that was the low point of the game, personally. Now, I liked the post-game. Like, how much of the post-game did you end up doing as far as, like, side objectives and all that kind of stuff?
I did mostly everything except beat Gná.
Okay.
Gná was the only major, and I watched the cutscene on YouTube of after it, and it's not much, but
oh yeah,
that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Did you do the trials? And was it Muspelheim?
I didn't finish them. No.
Okay.
It's the stuff right next to Gná. So, yeah.
Yeah. Did you do
I didn't do that.
all the ravens?
I had 2 other ravens. I think I did, but I forgot to turn it in.
Oh, okay.
I think
you missed one of the cooler. You missed one of the cooler
Really?
things. I mean, for me,
I forgot to open that last chest.
So, I mean, do you want me to spoil it, or do you want?
No, go ahead.
So it's a small thing, but to me it caught me off guard. Like all the ravens, I went, opened up the chest, and like the whole time the ravens have been talking about like our father has trapped us, blah blah blah, referring to Odin. When you open the last chest, they're like our mother and father, And then they have this big like witch lady pop up you have to chase down and fight. So it's like some final battle, the mother of the ravens you got to kill at the end. And it wasn't like the battle was anything overly interesting, but it was something very unexpected. And I feel like that was kind of the cool thing with a lot of the post game. It had a lot of cool little hidden battles. If you go back and start searching through stuff, there was like a hidden dragon you could fight. Did you ever find him?
Probably not.
Yeah, so I mean, the post game, I think it had a lot to it. I liked the post game of Ragnarok a lot more than 2018.
I was gonna say, what did you think about ultimately Tyr or not? Was it Tyr? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is Tyr the God of War?
Tyr? Yeah.
Finding real Tyr? Yeah. What did you think about? I actually thought that whole section was kind of boring. The whole finding him in the tower thing.
I mean, it wasn't like an overly interesting way to find him. I think it was interesting to find him.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I just thought like it was like a very kind of simple puzzle. You kind of doing like some jump swinging across, and I was just like, that kind of was a weird way of finding him.
I think I find it interesting because like he was, to me, he didn't feel like he was that well imprisoned. You know? Unless it was just because of like the realm he was in was maybe hard to get to. I don't know, but like he was just in a regular.
It really felt like he should have been able to get out of there if he wanted to.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that was a little, I think lackluster, but it was cool to see Tyr and kind of get the actual Tyr's perspective on things. Did we talk about that turn last time where I don't know if Serrano got that where Tyr was actually Odin?
Odin?
I don't think you had gotten to that part yet. So I know you haven't played the game, Metal, so I don't want to overly go into too much detail. But one of the things you do is you find the Norse god of war Tyr at the very beginning of the game. He's kind of there to help you out and kind of serve as an advisor to a certain extent. You find out at the end it wasn't Tyr. It was Odin in disguise the entire time, listening to all your plans and like trying to jerk you around and whatnot. So it was a cool.
What a jerk.
Yeah, so it was a cool twist there at the end when Tyr Odin reveals himself.
I'm still kind of. I mean, it's kind of weird that his wife didn't notice it, or she's like super ultra powerful too.
Here's what's interesting about it. I don't know if you saw some of this from either like reading online or hearing some of the developer interviews, but they added a lot of little hints if you know to look for them, so you can tell that that's not the real Tyr. For example, when Tyr talks to Freya for the first time, he doesn't call her Freya; he called her Frigg, which is what Odin always called Freya. That was their whatever name.
He didn't catch that?
Yeah, so she didn't catch that, which, is kind of like, whatever. And there's actually, if you have, like, subtitles on the game, like, Tyr is supposed to have, like, a little apostrophe over, I think, the Y or something, the official writing. But when it's Odin pretending to be Tyr, the apostrophe is removed in the subtitle. So it's just TYR instead of TYR with the little apostrophe. So they do a lot of little subtle things like that. Then if you go back with that information, you can see all the little kind of cues to how that's not really the real Tyr. But, I don't know. Thought that was kind of interesting.
And I guess the only other section I remember that was post-game to mention is the whole funeral for Sindri's brother.
For Brock.
That was a pretty good section. I really enjoyed that. It was really sad.
Part where they finally he got the answer to the riddle. Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all really sad.
Riddle for you, Metal Gamer, since you haven't played the game, so it probably hasn't been spoiled. What gets bigger the more you take away from it? Don't get dirty.
No, I'm not. I'm already there, but no. I don't know. What would that be?
So the reason I'm telling you that, so early on, or at some point in the game, there's this character Brock. He's one of the dwarves that you interact with that makes your weapons. He tells you a riddle, and that's the riddle. What gets bigger the more you take away from it. And the smart little advisor head that floats on your hip, Mimir, can't guess it. And he's supposed to be like the smartest man alive. And then what happens is that dwarf gets killed by Odin pretending to be Tyr at a certain point. And at the very end of the game, you have a funeral with him, and then Mimir gets the answer to the riddle. It's a hole. A hole gets bigger the more you take away from it. Well, it's dumb, but it was actually this really kind of, I don't know, gut-wrenching moment because, I don't know, just the way they kind of interact and the way that riddle was kind of left hanging the whole time. It was.
It gets talked to. It gets mentioned.
Like during passing conversations, he keeps trying to give answers for it and never gets it right, and Brock's like jabbing him the whole time. So I don't know. It was a fun, just little narrative kind of thing they tied in there, but yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
I know that. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything.
I would say
we do kind of get.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go first.
No, I was just gonna say we do kind of see Atreus and Angrboda kind of go off on their own, or he says he's going to go off on his own adventure. What is he? I forgot what he says he's going to go do.
He's trying to go find the rest of the Titans because he believes they're
Ah.
still out there and he can, resurrect some. Now there's no threat of Odin trying to bring him back. I think is kind of the goal. I mean, technically he can put him into animals, so he could, have a whole animal Titan world.
Do you think Kratos and Freyr are going to go make a new Atreus?
No,
Huh?
ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. I guess my question. So
They could make the ultimate warrior child. They're two like the greatest fighters in the cosmos, I guess.
well, technically, what is it? I don't know if you know the actual Norse mythology between Loki and Angrboda, but they're supposed to give birth to a giant wolf. What is it, Fenrir? And that's supposed to be the strongest being out there. It kills Odin, all this kind of stuff in actual Norse mythology. So
Fenrir is already in this game, though.
yeah, they've taken some liberties, but anyways. So do you think, with the way they kind of left the game, that what's next for God of War is kind of going with this? Like, do you think they'll go ahead and have that spin-off game with Angrboda and Atreus going off on their Titan journey, or they'll leave that alone and they'll just reinvent Kratos and new God of War kind of mythos, go from there?
I think the latter. Because I don't know if Sony would like. I would assume they know there would be. I don't want to say backlash. There's not going to be backlash, but I think people are going to play God of War no matter what. But I definitely think. I mean, you can't shift wholly away from Kratos. Like,
I agree.
Like I definitely think you can have your cake and eat it too, where you still stay as Kratos, and then maybe periodically, as in this game, you can switch over to Atreus on whatever he's doing with Angrboda or whatever. I think that's probably probably it.
What if they did because Sony's done this a lot too with a lot of their first party games. They have a spin-off side game that focuses on that. Think Spider-Man Miles Morales or The Last of Us.
Uncharted.
Uncharted. What was it? Not Lost Legacy. Was it Lost Legacy? Or was that the Lost Legacy collection? It was that little spin-off.
I can't remember. I know there was a spin-off one.
Yeah, and then Last of Us had, it was a DLC, but I think they made it standalone after a while with Ellie and the Maul and the other characters. So do you think they'd just do that maybe? Not have another, not necessarily a full-fledged God of War game, but mini God of War, Lad of War?
God of War Ascension 2?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Or do you think they'll just save it all for a brand new God of War?
I think they'll just start a new God of War.
Okay.
Because I mean the whole reality tear thing can kind of pave the way for a new location, for a new world in a way.
So on that, and I think that's actually a good segue or a good way to kind of bring in other mythologies. Did they ever, may I just missed this in 2018 because it's been so long, how did he go from Greek mythology to Norse mythology in the first place? They
never say how. He just turns up here.
Yeah, I feel like there has to be some bit of information in the game somewhere that I've overlooked. I mean, if I go look online, I'll find out. But I feel like that's a pretty big, point, because if we're going to think about how he's going to go into some other form of mythology, we probably need to look at how he got from the first mythology into this one, right?
To me, again, the tear in reality is the only thing that, to me, can answer any of that.
I mean, that makes sense, but I don't think, at least in the lore they've laid out here, that Kratos used any kind of tear like that to go from Greek to Norse. Because otherwise, I think he'd be a lot more knowledgeable of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's true, because at the beginning of 2018, he has no understanding of how this world, when he first meets his the mother, he has no understanding of this world or its gods or anything.
Yeah, so they make it seem like sometimes he just went from one country to another, but I don't think that's really how it was. Because in God of War 3, he pretty much destroyed the world. He died and destroyed the world. So was he reincarnated? Was he I don't know. I've missed that.
I guess reincarnation's probably the thing that makes the most sense.
But that would be weird too, because he's starting this as old Kratos. So did he reincarnate as a new baby Kratos and live an entire life in this Norse world? Because that doesn't make sense. Because he'd know about Norse mythology if he lived his whole life there.
And it's not as if. Oh, sorry, to cut you off.
No, I don't know. I'm just kind of theory crafting now. And honestly, reincarnation wouldn't make sense because he has his blade of chaos. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's not as if Odin created this world, because Odin is super upfront about how like he has no understanding of the origin of
Right.
things, and he says there was someone before him that created everything. So like Odin's not even the end all be all of this world.
Yeah, I'm curious what's tying all this together. And maybe I've just missed a really big thing from God of War 2018 that explained that. And if somebody is somehow watching this video and wants to explain in the comments, leave us a link. I'll love to look into it. But I feel like that's a pretty big missing element that I think if you figure that out is going to really help you kind of understand where this game is going to go next, because you'll then have some kind of story rationale for how he's able to jump around between mythologies. But I don't know.
Kratos versus, I don't know, Egyptians.
Egypt would be cool. They got a lot of cool mythology, a lot of gods there. You got Chinese mythology.
Japan. I would say Chinese Japan.
Ireland actually has a lot of cool mythology too. Like, there's some cool stuff there.
I know it's a joke, but I've seen so many people joke about like modern mythology or modern religions, and I'm like, dude, they're not. No one's gonna touch that. I know it's a jokey thing, but
well, some people aren't joking. It depends on how you view if any of that's truly mythology. Like, I have my own opinion. But
I'm just saying, because in my last stream, someone was talking about that, and I'm like, I don't think you could.
They will not go that direction. No, you can't. You really can't. I mean, whether you feel like that's a good gameplay decision or not, I mean, that's gonna get your game banned in a lot of places.
Yeah,
maybe not banned,
well,
but you know what I'm saying.
Also, with that argument, it's like, you know, our modern religions don't have like giant creatures and stuff anyway, so I don't think that makes
fun from a gameplay perspective. So.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know, but anyways, I do think I'd have to see the Ireland thing. So I'm not familiar with that one at all.
There's a little bit. I'm not real well versed in it, but they have a few cool gods in there. But I would like to see Egypt personally. I think there's a lot there, and I think people know enough about Egyptian mythology. They could probably draw some parallels there. They know about Ra and stuff like that.
Isis and Ra and all that.
Yeah, so I think that'd be an easy segue. Like, they won't have to teach a huge amount. Like, I think that's what made Ragnarok work really well, is you had the MCU that kind of revitalized Norse mythology some, so people are already familiar again with Loki and Thor and Odin, all that kind of stuff. So it was an easy segue. So I feel like they'd want to do something again that has some familiarity out there. That way it's something easy to grab onto. But.
Yeah, ultimately I agree. Who knows? I have no idea where they're gonna go.
Well, we're not going to see another God of War game probably for
2026,
6 years.
2025.
I think I think 2027. I think it's going to be about 5 years. I don't think we're going to see this anytime soon. But we'll see.
Do you think maybe they'll do a movie? It seems like Sony's they've done an Uncharted movie. They're doing Last of Us TV show. I know a lot of people have been saying they want the voice actor of Kratos to play Kratos in a movie or TV show. I think that's been on a lot of people's.
I don't think it would translate well, personally. I mean, not that I don't think there's a good story there, so it's cinematic, but I don't know. I think games like this that have this high level of... man, what's a good way to say this? I'm trying to think the best way to phrase this. I feel like it's so gamey, part of it, and that's not going to translate well. And this...
Like, Last of Us is a more cinematic experience anyway.
It's focusing on just the narrative. It's a little more down to earth and realistic. Like, this is just so out there. Like, I think to make that come across more realistic, like, I don't know.
We didn't even ask Gamer. Like, what does Gamer want? Like, what? I mean, I would assume no movies, no TV shows.
No, I saw Uncharted. I thought that was a heap of trash, and that's just me.
Here's the thing, Uncharted could have worked. Like, that's one of the franchises that I think could have worked.
They could have made it work.
They strayed too far away from it. And that's the thing, like... So are they going to try to do a one-to-one thing if they do God of War? I don't think that's going to work. It's also, I think, a situation where they can't really stray too far away from it. I think they are going to be barking up the wrong tree if they try to take God of War and translate it into a movie. They have franchises that work well. I think the Last of Us TV show is going to work out really well for them. And I know we're segueing a little bit, but I thought the way they're handling The Last of Us is really smart. That they are, it seems like, making it like a one-to-one translation from the first game. So I think that's going to work in their favor, because really Last of Us is, yeah, about the world, but more importantly, I think it's about the story between Joel and Ellie. So the fact they're focusing on that, I think is going to work really well for them. With God of War, is the focus Kratos and Atreus? Is it the fact that you're beating up gods? Is it like pinpointing what God of War is to translate that into a movie? I think is going to be tricky, because you end up with like a Doom scenario where like Doom just focused on, hey, you're in space shooting stuff with like zombie aliens.
I did a video on that movie.
I know,
like that movie.
But you see what I'm saying? Like that didn't translate well, because I don't know if they really identified what made Doom Doom, right?
That's a dumb movie, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, we're just making this particular topic stretch way too long. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Ultimately, I would say so. Did you like it more than 2018? I think you said you did.
I did, but for me, I think really it's not about the narrative. All that was good. I think the combat was just a lot better, and that's what turned me off a little in the first game. And I think it improved enough in this game that it kind of carried me through and made me a little more optimistic to the whole thing.
Said it, but I'm finding it hard to really differentiate between the two.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, they're both really good games. I absolutely recommend them. I want to say I like 2018 just a touch more, but I honestly, I don't know.
They bleed together a lot.
They bleed together, yeah. But anyways, yeah. So that was God of War Ragnarok. We can turn the page on that. That's our second part of that topic.
Oh, is it your game of the year? I will ask that. Is it going to beat out Elden Ring?
Oh, well, beats out Elden Ring.
For you, because you can beat Elden Ring.
Yeah. I'd have to go back and see what exactly I've played this year, because
it's going to be Stray. That's going to be the game of the year.
Pokemon Violet is not my game of the year right now.
All right, well, let's shift over into Pokemon talk then, since you brought it up.
Yeah. So this topic, put a timer. I'm not going more than 5 minutes on this. I want to be super quick. But
a timer?
We're not
making things hard on me.
No, you don't have to. I was just joking.
But I got the timer up. You want 5 minutes? You want 10 minutes?
Go ahead. Do it. Yep, do it. Do 5 minutes.
5 minutes starting now.
So we are officially starting our Pokemon talk. No, not on Pokemon Violet. Over the kind of the month, I've been kind of playing off and on a Pokemon game that I picked up. But yes, I've been playing the game Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. I picked up. I know I'm a little bit late to the game on this one. But have any of you guys played this one? Did you play this remake?
Mm-mm. I almost picked it up only because I wanted the benefit it gave you in Arceus, because like you got like special Pokemon. That was the only reason. But I heard so many negative things about it, I decided not to touch it.
So again, I'm gonna be quick, but I'm gonna struggle to find any super unique aspects of this game. I mean, it was ultimately a fun Pokemon experience, but it definitely did not change the formula at all, in my opinion. I'm struggling to find anything that I saw was slightly different. I mean, the only thing that's slightly different is you get, I can't even think of the name of the thing, but you get like a device now that's almost acts like a watch or like a computer that's on like the top right of your screen, and that's how you access stats and your Pokemon and the HMs, you know, to use moves and stuff.
Let me ask, did you play the original Diamond and Pearl?
I did not. That probably would be helpful to be able to compare it to that one.
Well, I'm curious because I mean, you're comparing it, but are you comparing it just to changes in other Pokemon games, or comparing it to changes from the old Diamond and Pearl?
I'm comparing it to older Pokemon games. Because what generation was Diamond and Pearl? Was that like
4 through 4?
Ruby. That was after Ruby and Sapphire.
After Ruby and Sapphire, pretty sure it was that, and then you got into the Black and Whites, and then you got into 3DS territory, I think.
Yeah, I would say since it came right after Ruby Sapphire, that's actually a great comparison, because there were aspects in this that I did notice that were similar to Ruby and Sapphire, such as a lot of like the contest-oriented things. Like you remember that from Ruby Sapphire, where like you'd put your Pokemon in, and depending on how strong or cute moves were, you could get scores and win awards. That was in there, which I guess now that I know that this was post Ruby Sapphire, I do see a lot of similarities between it. But ultimately, to me, it was just a pretty basic Pokemon experience. I mean, there's another, I forgot what team it was, you know, their team Star, Galactic, you know, some other team, and ultimately they want to kind of take over things or and or take, you know, capture legendary Pokemon, and you're just trying to stop them throughout the game while beating gyms.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I mean, there you play gyms, you capture Pokemon, you take on the team. Ultimately, at the end, the ending is almost exactly the ending of Pokemon Arceus.
Right.
Like, it's weird. Well, I'm trying to say it's weird, but because they kind of tie in, it makes sense. But at the end of this game, all that happens is you go to the same exact looking, almost like a Coliseum. You remember that from Arceus? You go to a Coliseum, you capture the legendary Pokemon, and you beat the game. I didn't actually do the final four, which I don't know. I kind of lost interest. I was just playing it for during holiday season while I was doing some traveling.
Well, you found it pretty cheap, didn't you? You found like a pawn shop.
Yeah,
for like
it was like
20,
$25. Yeah.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's fun if you like Pokemon. I mean, I didn't have a bad time. I just, you know, trying to find new or unique aspects of it for me were not plentiful. Once again, it's just how you utilize HMs and your map and all that, just through like a top right machine thing that kind of, you know, is your way of utilizing everything.
Well, I think to be fair, I mean, I haven't played it.
It is based on an older game.
I guess, yeah, you have to remember this isn't a new Pokemon game. It is a game, and I get this is where my point is going with this. So this literally sounds like, from my understanding of, you know, hearing other people talk about it and for what you talk about it, it's a 1-to-1 remake, pretty much, of Brilliant Diamond or Diamond and Pearl. And
I can very much see that.
And it sounds like that was probably one of its biggest downfalls. Like, they didn't take the opportunity to revamp it. Like, when you think about when they released Fire Red as opposed to just Red. Although, yes, Fire Red is red, they added a lot of quality of life stuff to it. A lot of this.
I had God of War playing this whole time.
Oh, well, I haven't had B-roll anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I switched over to Pokemon.
No, but my point being, no, you may forget my point. No, it's there. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Like, when they've done remakes, like whether it be Fire Red or like the Let Go series, they've added modern twists to those old games. This doesn't seem like they did that. Oh, there's our timer. But I think that's the issue, right? They should have taken this opportunity to revamp it some for, you know, modern age, besides just the chibi graphics they came across with. But either way.
I guess real quick, I'll just throw out the chibi graphics you mentioned. I remember that was kind of a small talking point for the game. I don't think they're all that particularly good looking. I mean, maybe like you're saying, because it's a remake and based on an older game. I guess in a way I can kind of see it being kind of cutesy because it's, you know, a play on the older type looking Pokemon style.
I know a lot of people hated those graphics when they were revealed, so
I didn't think they were great.
I don't have a preference per se. They just look very simple.
There's a lot of games that use that kind of style too, because of 4 remakes in particular, like Final Fantasies and stuff. They all
the
had
new
that,
Zelda.
like,
I played that new Zelda one that looked like that too.
The Zelda one though took it a little bit further. It wasn't just chibi. They almost were going for like a toy aesthetic. So I think for that, it was more than just, oh, let's make the heads big. Like, they had some other artistic qualities to it. This game's just straight up big head mode.
I played that one on stream. While I was like sick with COVID. That was a COVID, like, I need to play something because I have nothing else to do.
Gross.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was it. I mean, again, I thought it was fun. It's fun if you like Pokemon. You like Pokemans? Do you want to catch them all? Then I don't know. Go buy this one.
All right, Metal. You finally get to talk.
Oh, no, wait. We have. Are we doing highlights first, or do you want to?
Well, no, he's got to talk about Dread.
Highlights. Oh,
Weren't you?
okay.
Oh, so we'll move
we
highlights. We'll move highlights after the. Because
Sure.
Dread's gonna leave right into our first speed run.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. But yeah, go ahead and talk about what you're playing.
Okay.
Let's talk about Dread.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I continued on with it. Last time I spoke about it, I was about, I would say, like 3-4 hours in easily. So I got a good chunk of what the game is supposed to, you know, entail. Except I got a little but now that I'm further in, I'm getting a lot more of the power-ups. You know, the typical, you lose your powers, you get them back kind of deal. If you play one Metroid game, you play them all pretty much. But in this case, what was interesting and what really was, I guess story-wise, I like it. It is definitely like an interesting continuation. I think what caught me the most is I'm not surprised that that I don't know if we're talking about spoilers, I suppose, right? At this point.
Yeah.
If yeah, like I was surprised about the whole like or not surprised about the whole X parasite thing again, and I'm like, oh, here we go again with fusion,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, okay. It went from one nasty thing to the next nasty thing because those X parasites were pretty gnarly. If you've ever played, I don't know, Chaz, have you played Fusion?
I've only played Metroid. What's the Super Nintendo one? That's the only one I've ever
Super
Super
played.
Metroid.
Metroid.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Super. Like,
Poor Chaz.
like if you play like it almost feels that like because they threw the Atom AI in there and the X Parasite stuff. It almost feels like I'm playing Fusion again,
Yeah.
I
except
don't
with
have much
robots.
Metroid opinions. Like I've just never,
Yeah,
I've never tried to like stick with one. Is that what I mean?
it's really fun. You like it just like anything else you know what to expect with one of these games,
Hmm.
especially the side scroller ones. You know what to expect from them.
I think
It's
that's
not
what
like
made me kind of sad about this game, to be honest, is it didn't do anything to push my expectations. Like, it
right.
was exactly what you expect. It was a Metroid game, for better or for worse, and they did a good job on making this a refined Metroid game. But I think I mentioned this last time. I don't know if your feelings are the same about this after playing a little more of it, but there have been so many other Metroidvania-like games since Fusion and Super Metroid, like the classic ones that kind of
Right.
created the genre. Other games have taken it and evolved. I mean, you have like
Yeah.
the Ori and the Blind Forest kind of stuff. What is it? Shadow Complex, which is one of my favorites.
Hmm.
Like, they really took the formula and did some new stuff with it. And
How
then
do
you
you even
have,
play that?
hmm?
Sorry. How do you even play Shadow? I've never played Shadow Comp. I've always wanted to. I don't even know how you play it nowadays.
Shadow Complex.
They
That's an older game,
re-released.
right?
It was on the 360 as an arcade game. They
I
re-released
re-
it for limited run, but it's expensive now. 100 something bucks. I'd love to have it, but point being is
Alright,
there are newer Metroidvania games that have done more with the formula, and then Dread comes out. Dread is very polished, but it
mhm.
doesn't do anything new. It doesn't even rebuild on what some of the new concepts are that these more modern Metroidvanias have done. It kind of goes back to Fusion, Super Metroid, time frame, just like we're just gonna do this again. We're gonna do it
Yeah.
well, but we're just gonna do this again. And for me, that was pretty disappointing. Playing those other
Hmm.
ones, this game looked good, and the boss
I agree.
battles I will say were pretty good. I don't know how. What was the
Yeah.
last boss you fought?
I was it Kraid? No, it wasn't. It was it was like weird X parasite thing. Um,
Okay, I think I know which
yeah,
one you're talking
the
about.
first armored Chozo parasite
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
That thing was gnarly. Like I looked at it, I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" And that thing shows up. So yeah, I'm still like, I still I think I still got a ways to go.
Yeah, you sound like you're
Um,
maybe halfway, maybe a little more than halfway.
yeah, because already the big reveal is in the middle, obviously, so it's there, and it's kind of like, you kind of find out who that guy is.
Yeah. Oh,
The,
I wasn't
the
showing. I wasn't showing it.
freaking
This
Raven
guy.
Beak.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ravenbeak, and it's like, all right, well, that's cool, and yeah, I agree 100%. I think you you, you play it, it's a polished game. I think who is it? The studio in Spain who does it, who does these new Metroid side scrollers,
Mm-hmm.
and they're good. I think they're good, but I was I was talking to someone a few days
L
ago while
Metroid,
playing. I'm sorry.
La Metro, L Metroid, La Metroid.
Yeah, like I was
Good try, Chaz.
saying. Yeah, good job.
La
I was
Metroid.
like, yeah, Metroid, yeah. Like, to me, it something's missing. It's missing something. It doesn't feel
It needed
something. I
something
don't
new.
feel it. Yeah,
Like,
like
I don't want to say a gimmick. I don't want to just throw a gimmick in there. I mean, they kind of did that with the Emmys. They were
they,
kind of the gimmick, but
they are the gimmick on this one. I
I
mean,
don't
you,
know.
you kind of get terrified of them in the beginning, and then after that, I went through a moment where I was just like, you know what? Let me just get hit by these guys like a whole bunch of times for fun,
Yeah.
just to try to find a way to get out of it. And I did. I was going in and out. I kept dying, dying, dying.
Kind of
Eventually, I
surprising.
figured out that I was able
The
to
Parium, if you
once
do
I,
it just right.
yeah, like if you do it just right on the little star thing, that's the only thing you can do. And
I
I'm
only
like,
did it like
okay,
one
I'm happy
time.
now.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised you guys saying that something missing, some sort of gimmick because
Well, I'm saying I don't want
it
it to be a gimmick. Like I don't want them
Yeah,
to
and
just throw a
no,
gimmick
but
in
I'm
there.
saying the game clearly has a new thing it's working with, which is this weird machine creature chasing you all around
That's
the
the
game.
ME.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Like I feel like
That's
that's a really cool
it's
thing to
It
do.
not.
is, but
It doesn't
I don't
chase
know.
you the
It's
whole
just
game. Like
It
there's
should though.
zones. There's certain zones for them, and when it starts chasing you, you pretty much you have like a way to escape, and just relax for like a second, and it gives
yeah,
you a second for you to go back in.
like they make
But
it seem like the ME is gonna be that big new advancement, but it isn't. It doesn't. It's not a big threat the entire game. So the standard gameplay you play most of the time is just standard Metroid gameplay. That's what I'm talking about. There's nothing new there. Those ME sections, as you were saying, are threatening the first time, but then they get more annoying than anything else. Like the more
yeah,
you do
I'm
them,
saying
there's a frustration.
I'm
but
just
then
saying like
there's yeah.
that
Go ahead.
shouldn't just be there shouldn't just be sections. Like that should be like a consistent like when you play Aliens Isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have your own goals and your own thing, but like the cool thing about that game is like it's like that alien could pop out at any
Yeah,
moment, and then you have to figure out how to deal with that. And that's but it's I like the randomness
Yeah.
of that. I'm surprised this is just like, oh, I'm coming up
maybe
on a
that would
section
have
where
done
I'm
it
gonna
if they
get
could find a way to balance and implement that correctly. I'd be a little worried that would also lead to some frustration if it happened too much or too frequently. But if they found a
Mhm.
way to balance that, that might have
Yeah.
been a good thing. I mean, I think they used the Emmys as a way to also. I'm trying to recall, but they were a way of you unlocking progression at a certain point. Because when you killed them, or eventually you kill them, quote unquote,
Yeah.
you what
You
is it?
battle this brain thing, and then you get like this Omega Cannon,
Yeah, you gotta unlock. Right.
which allows you to use a ridiculous amount of power for like a very small amount of time.
Which I thought was kind of
And it's
dumb. It was literally just a way to open a door.
which not only that, but now I'm thinking about it, you know, and we're about to go into the Metroid trilogy stuff, where they, I'm thinking about it now. They took a lot of those aspects, like the whole Emmy thing. They used that from the Space Pirates in the
Mm,
first one, where you go into like the underground um research facilities, and you're just like, why is it so dark in here? And you get locked in there with those space pirates you could barely see.
Mhm.
Like those are things that there's just a different way to present it
yeah.
in this case. Like they use the other M over the shoulder thing, which is cool, but it's not really new.
Right.
And then they're just kind of putting it into this game and then adding a new story to it, or if you want to call it new, because that thing sounds like it's been in the works since before, after Super Metroid.
Yeah.
But you know, I think this game took too long to come out, in my opinion. Like
Maybe
it
that's
should have
part of
came
it.
out maybe a long time ago. Like it should have came out as like maybe a Metroid 4 or something, like for like the Super Nintendo or something,
Yeah.
or for the Game Boy,
Or if this
or the
game
Advance.
came out like during the Wii time frame, even like I think people or
Like that should have
probably
took
would have
over.
been I would have been more I think accepting of what it was because it wouldn't have felt as outdated, right? It would have felt like
Right.
a natural progression with some polished elements of what it came before it. But
Hmm.
after what 2 decades it feels like of
Yeah,
other advancements, this game feels like it was kind of trapped in time. Like it's very polished, and I'll keep saying that because it's not that it was a
it
bad
is.
game. It's
It's
fun for
beautiful.
what it is, but you just feel like there should be a little more. And
Yeah. This could have easily taken the position of Other M. I think if, like you said, that I think that's a great way to say it. That could have been the Wii Metroid game after Corruption, because they pulled out Corruption and then they came out with Other M
mm,
because of Team Ninja or whatever. And it's like, it, I'm probably getting a lot of flack. I enjoyed Other M for what it was, but I think this could have taken over that position instead, and instead of just waiting two systems later to, oh, maybe we should make a game. Oh, we'll give you a chance to make Dread.
yeah,
Like, really? It's good overall. Like it's I'm gonna continue to play it to the end. I've already can see like what's going on. It's just like, all right. You know, it's cool. I mean, I'm harping about it, but
No, I know.
it's just
We
I'm
harp because
still
we love.
in the same. Yeah, like I want to like it more because I'm a huge fan of Metroid. I love Metroidvania games.
Well, we had waited so long too, like, because we had already been
Mm-hmm.
teased about, Prime 4 for however long
Oh,
now, and then you
get me
finally dropped
started.
this game that is decades in the making,
Well, that
and
announcement was what, like 4 years ago at this
yeah.
point?
But I was saying, like,
Yeah.
everybody was just super hyped, and you get this new Metroid game, and it's good, but it's just not what people are wanting, It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like you're really wanting this really good pizza, and then all of a sudden they give you a good hamburger, which is a good hamburger, but you want the pizza. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my terrible
I
analogy
agree.
for
I'd,
tonight.
I
I'd rather have the
completely agree.
hamburger. Hamburger
Daddy didn't pay you Tuesday for a
Mm.
hamburger today. So, uh,
But yeah, that's my take on it. I'm gonna continue it. I'm gonna probably finish it most likely, and then that's it. You know, I think Fusion's better. Like
ooh,
Fusion has so much extra stuff. Like it,
for a game that's what 15 years old. How old is that game now? Yeah.
yeah, that that game had so much good stuff in it. It was like whoa, like it's good. And this one just it kind of took a step back,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
Fair.
I mean, I still
Me
enjoy it.
too. All right, so we're at an hour, it looks like. So I'm going to move us into our speedrun news. So let's see. So that's going to move us directly. It's a good segue. So if you didn't see, Metroid Prime hit its 20-year anniversary. Just
Woo.
what was this? This is probably about what 2 weeks ago, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean,
Man,
again, I've never
Metroid Prime
played.
20 years ago. That
Can you believe
that
that?
hurts. It makes my heart hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I remember
Well,
the first day I saw the commercial for Metroid Prime, and I was like, the literally like, not to date myself or anything, but a literal commercial on cable television on my favorite, either
I remember the
Nickelodeon, I think it was
commercial was.
Nickelodeon. It,
I remember the commercial was sick too. It was like a
Yeah.
live
dude,
action. I'll pull it up.
but then it's like that whole spider crawling thing, and I was like, and I freaking like almost like dropped. I was like, dude, this game looks amazing.
Yeah.
And ended up getting a GameCube just for that game. Like,
Have you
yeah.
tried to play it on the GameCube in recent years?
There's the live action trailer.
I was planning on doing so. I have it set up over here somewhere, so eventually I might just play it.
I mean, once you
But
get
I'm
back
sure
into it, it's fun, but man, the controls are
controls are
rough.
janky.
Yeah, especially you can play like
Yeah.
modern shooters now. This was still before like, twin stick was really, really
Thing.
figured out. Like before Halo kind of revolutionized everything. They were doing
Mhm.
some like janky stuff with that C stick, man.
I, I remember it being really strange. Like it was like having 4 or 5 different buttons
Mm-hmm.
inside of the C stick. Like you press up, it does things. It does different things each time. Um,
I
funny.
should
I was
say,
playing the 64 the other day.
just
Anyway,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
shout out to Long Play Archive. We're using some of your gameplay. Go check out them.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you're gonna
But yeah, I
replay
think
it, Wii is the way to go. If you have
yeah,
access to like the trilogy or any of the remakes, the Wii
I
it just
agree.
feels so much better with the point and shoot
hmm
mechanisms. So
And I think
Mhm.
if you use the Wii U, I think they did quite a few things with that with the tablet, which I
really,
think I remember. I think they had it because I remember downloading it for it, and I think they did something with it.
I
Either
did
that
not
or
know.
they added something else to it. I gotta double check
Wait,
it.
playing the Wii version on the Wii U or the,
I no there was a Wii U version, I believe, unless I'm completely wrong.
I don't recall a Wii U version of the trilogy.
I believe so.
Oh man, I
I
didn't-
will say,
Let me
as
take a look at
I'm,
that
I'm
because
looking too.
I'm remembering there was something different about it unless I played it on the Wii U.
Maybe you're
I will
right.
say, I've never
Because I
watched it,
remember
but
I downloaded it specifically.
I mean,
I'm a freak. I actually bought the game 4 times
You can get it
and I
on
bought it
the Wii
again.
U Virtual Console. Maybe that's
Okay, I
what it
think that's what it
was.
was.
So
Yeah, I
it
got it for the
is.
virtual.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
still the Wii version, but maybe they added some kind of virtual console nonsense for the Wii U. I'd be curious to look into that.
Yeah, I remember I can't 100% remember. I know I bought it.
Mm.
But it was yeah, I agree with you 100%. If you're going to play the game, play it on the trilogy. They actually make use of the nunchuck. I think, on those games.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, that's your movement.
And the
I've never
movement is
played
actually
it,
really
but
nice.
the UI looks pretty clean for a game of this age.
Yeah, well, the
The
whole
UI was,
interface, how you're looking through your
Mm-hmm.
visor and
yeah,
everything, and
it was pretty.
yeah, no, they did a good job, and even how they shifted your perspective to third person when you had to like go into the morph ball and all that kind of stuff. Like it was really
Yeah.
seamless for the most part.
As it got into like the third one, you'll notice that they got better with like the facial graphics,
Mm-hmm.
where like every time like you would go into like an area that had like condensation or steam, it'll fog up the visor and you can see her eyes blink. It was actually really, really neat how they
Yeah.
did some of that stuff.
So we got about a minute left. I guess predictions. When do you think we're gonna get Metroid Prime 4?
Another four or
Never.
5 years.
4 or 5 years, really? You think? Oh
Hey
man.
man, they
I
took this
I
long.
agree. I agree with Gamer. Yeah, you're probably at least another year or two away from a
Or at least an
A
announcement.
year or two, I
re-announcement.
find is reasonable, but 4 or 5. Do you think
No,
they'll
I mean
release it for the Switch or they'll release it for whatever the
that's
Switch 2 is gonna be?
that's Switch 2. Yeah, that's not.
I don't know.
Yes.
Here's the thing: they've been
And
developing it so long. Depending how they've kind of focused it, like what hardware they've been implementing on. I don't know what Nintendo's doing for their next console. It may be harder to develop for the next console, so it may not be in their best interest to make it for the next generation. I don't know. I mean, they might
Well,
have to if
when
they
I
put it
said
off
a
too much
year or
longer.
two, I think you're a year or two away from like a re-announcement. I don't
yeah,
think you're
that's
a
what I was
year.
gonna
Really?
say. An
Yeah. Oh
announcement
yeah.
because they haven't said anything. They've been quiet. I mean, it's been what, 2 years since they said, "Oh, we're scrapping what we got currently." It's like, oh Jesus Christ, what are you
I
doing?
was thinking or hoping next year they would announce something, not
I
release, but announce.
But even if
I
that's
hope
the
so
case, you're
too.
still 3-4 years away from at least
I
getting
would hope
something. I
two
think.
years you'd get it, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right,
Well,
there's
Well,
our timer.
one last.
should go
Okay, one
talk
last thing.
Yeah.
go
If you
talk to your
do play it,
uncle.
Chaz, get there's a lot of lore inside of the game. I remember reading so much extra stuff about the game because they talk about older planets and how the space pirates did things and how they were experimenting on each other and how the Metroid DNA and how they would try to figure out the absorption stuff and how there's even funny ones like how did Samus go into the morph ball
I remember
and
that.
how one of our guys did that and his bone
Yeah.
structure got destroyed. Like you get all kinds of crazy
Her,
stuff
isn't it her? Her.
Yeah, he's
with
talking
this.
about there was a lore piece where someone else did it and got jacked up.
Ah.
Yeah,
I
like
was
it was
gonna
one of
say
the
you're
space
gonna get
pirates.
destroyed by
Yeah.
Metroid people for that.
Hey,
No,
at
one of the
least he didn't
space
Never
mess up
pirates
mind.
tried.
knowing who made Sonic.
Yeah.
We'll come
That
back
So
to
wasn't
yeah.
on stream. You're not supposed to mention that.
Yeah. So if you do play it, like just be patient and go through like all the nooks and crannies of all those logs, because there's so much information about just the universe. It's really fantastic. That's one of the reasons why I like it so much. It's like reading a book. So I'm done. I'm
All right,
done.
moving
No
on.
more. No more
Chaz, prep
Metroid.
us for the next one.
All
Yeah.
right, so we are gonna move on to some less than fantastic news for the original designer of the infamous Sonic games. If you didn't know, Yuji Naka, I had this titled, I had it named Yuji Naka sold shares fast.
So fast.
Oh my god, I can't get over this.
But yeah, apparently just
Oh
about a
my
week or two ago, Yuji Naka got arrested because I'll read it verbatim. But let's
Can you like
see.
show his face?
Oh, shame.
His face is priceless.
His face needs to be leaning forward like a little bit just to like looking at the
And
ground.
some
Oh my
speed lines.
gosh.
Just basically Yuji Naka, who was credited as one of the main creators of Sonic the Hedgehog and also worked on everything from Nights into Dreams to Phantasy Star,
Yeah.
has since been arrested on charges of what were the charges exactly?
Basically, wasn't it like
Insider trading,
Fine.
right?
yeah,
Pretty much
'cause he had
insider
some
trading, buying
Insider
extra
stocks
trading
beforehand.
chart
yeah.
related to a Dragon Quest game announcement. But yeah, it says according to this FFN report, Naka is accused of also knowing about the aiming deal before it was public news and taking the opportunity to purchase 10,000 shares in the company. I think it had something to do with Square Enix, right? That's the company that owns
Yeah,
Dragon Quest.
he bought a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
shares from Square because he knew or
Mhm.
allegedly knew that they were about to go ahead and announce the next Dragon Quest game. He's like, oh, well, as soon as they announce that, their shares are going to hop up. And sure enough,
Yeah.
man. Well, he had to make up some money after, Balan Wonderland didn't turn out so well
Oh
for
yeah.
him. So,
Oh yeah, that was a
Mm-hmm.
fantastic game. I think you can pick that game up for like $3-4 right now,
it was
pretty much
like,
everywhere.
yeah, I got it for like $5 new at Walmart like 2 months ago. So, but yeah,
You know,
I mean,
I'm
this
looking at
article
this
doesn't
guy's
say
catalog. What's up?
how long he possibly could. I mean, I would assume several years for insider trading. That's what
I don't
what
know.
Martha Stewart got. The
He'll
Martha
he'll he'll,
he's
he'll
gonna get
probably he'll probably buy himself out of it.
the Martha Stewart
I don't
treatment.
know. Martha didn't exactly, buy herself out of it. She got a nice sell, but
Yeah, like she got hooked up. I'm looking at this guy's his works, and he's pretty much like done all of the like major Sonic games.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Like it's pretty intense. I think what I didn't know is that he did what is it? We Play Motion.
Hmm.
That's surprising. I did not think that. And Ivy the Kiwi. Remember those games from back in the day?
a little bit.
No,
Yeah.
that's
I'm like, huh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what led this
Oh,
guy to make this decision. I mean, it wasn't just him, right? It was like a whole bunch of other employees
oh
too at
he was in
Square
a
or something. So
it was like a racket going on or something.
yeah.
yeah, so very
Hey, man,
unfortunate.
money
I mean,
money talks.
yeah, maybe he was on hard times. Maybe he's got wrapped up into it. I don't know. It's a shame.
It's not wholly, an unfamiliar thing. I mean, unfortunately, we have politicians in our own government that are widely known to be taking part of things like this.
Sure.
So
Well, you don't hear about it much in the gaming industry, though. I think it's what's kind of
yeah,
often to
yeah.
utilize, insider information about, like release dates. That's an interesting thing to think about. Like, think about how many release dates, come out about big games like, the next God of War game, the next whatever. Like, how easy it would be if you had that information and be like, well, this might be a good time to pick up some Sony shares right for the announce, God of War 4. Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, man, he must have been hurting for money after Balan Wonderlands. Oh, my Wonderworlds.
Yeah,
So,
that was a
oh well.
whole
That's
other thing.
the thing, though, is like
Yeah.
Series of bad decisions. Battle of Wonderlands, then this.
Yep.
that's the weird thing, though, is it's not like he was out of work. Like he had been making games, working at major developers. It's like I would think
He
was
probably had a pride hit, though, you got to think, because Battle of Wonderland was like, to my recall, one of his first games that he had been like in full, control over for a while before they basically ousted him towards the end of it. So that was a whole big
Mhm.
thing. You got to think your pride was hit at a certain point. Maybe you're finding a way to, get back on top, quick recovery. I don't know. I am completely reaching here, and I probably shouldn't be, but
Yeah.
hard
I mean, he hasn't.
times lead to hard decisions.
Mm-hmm. It seems like he wasn't a director since like Choo Choo Rocket, which was like early like 2000.
Yeah.
That's like forever ago. Like not being a director of a game for that long. That's hardcore.
Mhm.
It's
And
a
it's really
shame.
sad, you kind
Yeah.
of sully your own name when you're like a legendary programmer, developer.
I mean, you got to imagine his career is probably done, unfortunately.
It's not, unfortunately, like he's not the first one. Like, not a video game guy, but I remember there's a director who's known as like one of the greatest action movie directors ever, and he did the same stuff. I think he directed like Predator, and he directed like a whole bunch of like movies, and he did the same thing and went to prison. And it's like, dude, you were like gonna go down as like a all time, or he did go down as an all time great director, but it's like, why did you
You
need to be
tarnish
taking
your
part in
reputation.
stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that one's
All
done.
right.
Moving on.
Real
Yeah,
life.
so moving on to topic number 3 in our speed run. If you don't know, me and Phoenix, I'm not sure about Gamer, but one of our favorite consoles, at least one that particularly means a lot to me, kind of made me the hardcore gamer that I am, was the Xbox 360.
And Gamer was a
And
PS3 guy back in that day, if I recall correctly.
probably, I
Oh
would
yeah.
assume Gamer was, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was.
I think the only time you
Um,
played the Xbox when we were doing like X and A development or something, you you would pop it out and hop on there.
Yep.
But something that I actually at the time loved, now couldn't imagine going back to it, but the Xbox 360 controller, Microsoft has is it Microsoft that announced it, or I think it's Hyperkin
Hyperkin,
has
right?
announced it. Yeah,
Hyperkin,
I just saw it. So Hyperkin has announced that they will be kind of remaking or kind of doing like or it says 17th anniversary version of the Xbox 360 controller, of which that can be used. I'm assuming with what modern devices.
Yeah, it's PC, Xbox Series X and S.
Yeah, Windows 10, 11 devices.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, here's
it's really cool.
the kicker though. It's wired. So
What?
yeah,
Oh,
like it's
where did
got
you see
What?
that?
it's where
Oh,
I know it's
no.
wired. I'm trying to see where right. Oh, go back. I saw it.
Up top?
Right up there, as noted in a press release, Xeon's officially licensed wired gaming controller. Right there.
Oh,
Top.
Why?
shit. Really?
Well,
Why?
I mean, I probably wouldn't have bought it anyways, but yeah, that definitely.
It would have been really neat if like Microsoft would actually came out with their own version. Just say, hey.
well, this is officially
something.
licensed with Microsoft, so it's not like Microsoft is not involved on this. I'm not sure if they did it wired for cost purposes. I don't know. Because Xbox can use Bluetooth technically, but I don't know if it uses Bluetooth for connectability to the Xbox. I feel like their wireless controllers still use proprietary connections, even though they use Bluetooth. That's primarily for like connecting it to a PC or something like that. So there might have been a licensing cost with Microsoft for them to utilize the wireless technology. I mean, I'm not 100% sure on that, but that'd be my guess. And they wanted to keep it cheaper. No. But that's going to prevent me from buying into it because I love the 360 controller. It almost better than like the Xbox One controller. Like some of the buttons just feel a little better to me. Maybe it's just,
One thing I kind of want is that because they show it here, but Hyperkin also did that older
the Duke
controller for the Xbox.
Same thing though. It's wired, and that was the reason I didn't get that.
It's kind
Yeah.
of disappointing. When I remember when I was trying to get used to like that kind of controller configuration, I ended up buying one, and it was great. Actually, it was fantastic.
360
One of the better
controller,
controllers.
man, is still, in my
Freaking awesome.
opinion, one like I still use it on my PC. I think my last one actually broke. I have to get a new one, but super comfortable. It feels smoother than like the Xbox One or Series X controllers. I don't know. I did love that controller quite a bit. One thing I don't know I'd like about it, since they're doing the wired model, it doesn't have like that battery pack. The weight would feel different. Like, do you have a picture of the back of the controller, Chaz?
Yeah, they do have it there.
I think so. So like, I'm very familiar using the wireless version of the 360 controller that had a big old battery pack in the back.
Thick one.
Yeah, and it added a fair amount of weight. Whenever you use the wired one, it just felt dinky. So I would imagine that would feel similar here, and maybe that wouldn't translate as well for everybody.
My one question is, I know it's a remake, but like the one big problem everyone had with the 360 controllers was the D-pad.
Yeah.
Is this D-pad still? I think it's on a single axis, right? The older.
I would
D-pad
imagine
was?
it's
It
the
was on a single
same.
point.
Yeah, you can tell just by looking at it. It's not like it's separate
like
buttons.
Because that is something I like about the more modern controllers. Is I think they have like their own.
They're better. I mean, you could argue they're still not great, but
Yeah.
like at least these have like, I don't know. It feels like they're separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I forgot how heavy this controller is.
They're definitely, buying into the nostalgia factor of this, and they're hoping that, people who love 360 Air, which are a fair amount, are going to buy into it, which I was tempted when I heard about it, but I think the fact that it's wired is going to turn a lot of people off, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not something I need.
And it's not cheap, right? Did you see the price for it? I want to say it was like $60, $70 or something. Maybe I'm wrong.
What?
Like it's like full price controller.
It can't be.
Oh, does it say?
See anything about a controller?
Seriously?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm speaking.
Well, this is an older article. I bet you this one's from the 22nd.
It's not that long ago. Maybe they haven't released their price yet. Maybe I'm just assuming because the Duke was expensive. So maybe I'm just basing it off that. But, anyways, it's cool. It's definitely cool to see, if nothing else.
It's neat. It just sucks that it's wired.
Yeah.
Like, wireless is where it's at, man. Forget that nonsense.
All
right, how much time we got left on that?
That was done. Yeah, that was done.
Okay. All right, so on to topic number 4 of our speed run news. This is probably the most recent news article that we have. But just, I think it was just yesterday or maybe the day before, Microsoft announced that similar to what Sony and PlayStation have done with its pricing of games, Microsoft has announced it is increasing the price of its upcoming first-party Xbox games next month. From 2023 onward, new full-price games from Xbox studios like Redfall, Starfield, Forza Motorsport will be priced at $70 instead of the usual $60. It's a price increase that matches the pricing of competitors like Sony, Ubisoft, Take-Two, and all of their own games. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything about there. I mean, what do you guys think? Or, I mean, this is
Someone had to do it.
Well, that's the
It
thing
yeah,
was
though.
eventually.
People already did. Like,
people already have done it.
no, I don't. This should not be surprising to anybody. Like Sony already did this. They set the precedent for this at the beginning of the generation. And Microsoft said a few weeks ago, yeah, we haven't raised prices yet, but we're probably going to have to. Now, I think people were assuming, oh, that's just going to be like, they're talking about the consoles because, Sony raised the price of their PS5. But I'm not sure if they're going to go the route of the hardware. I think they might still take the hit there. They're going to go in now to try to get the extra profit out of the software. So I think that makes sense with the first thing to kind of jack up the price. So I think people, me, I don't really care.
You're right though. I at least with Xbox, they have the Game Pass, so they're like, this is them trying to say, dude, if you don't like it, go get Game Pass.
Yeah, it's
don't have to worry
another
about
push towards Game Pass. Honestly, I almost feel like that's more the rationale for doing it, even than anything else. Like they'll get some money off of sale price. But here's the thing: like people who are buying into the Xbox ecosystem, I don't feel like are doing that without getting Game Pass. Like the people who aren't interested in Game Pass are on PlayStation, and they're going to be paying the $70 regardless. So I think people who are on Xbox, they're not really thinking, oh, well, now I have to pay an extra $10. They're like, I already got Game Pass, so whatever. It's not a huge deal.
I do wonder if this makes me also kind of think about the, like, do you think this also means we could be getting a Game Pass increase?
Oh yeah, I don't think yet. I think they're gonna let this ride probably for a year or so.
Because if they're trying to make sure more people are getting Game Pass, another way to gain more revenue would be to bump it up $5.
They will. I think here's the thing though, they need to get some of these big releases under their belt first and get that install base. Like I think it's really going to be kind of, do or die time for stuff like Redfall and Starfield and some of their big releases. Like, if those come out well and they, meet expectations, they don't drop the ball on release, and people are like, they're big AAA major releases that go well, I think that's going to solidify people wanting Game Pass more. And then that will give them the opportunity to be like, okay, now that we got you, let's bump this up by $2, $3, whatever it may be.
It sucks, like, my first initial thought is thinking of the business and revenue aspect of it.
That's what like, it is a business, of course it is.
Yeah, I know, but yeah,
but I definitely think that's coming. Yeah,
like a Game Pass increase, because they have to be looking at other companies that have done. Because I know Netflix recently has bumped it up, and Netflix keeps talking about how it's tanking in terms of its subscriber count, mainly because it's increased. Like I just canceled Netflix.
Yeah, well, they've also got like there's a content issue too, and like competition's different in that area right now. Gaming's a little different, but yeah, I mean, I do think the increase will come there for some point. Question I have, so like they're claiming one of the reasons they're increasing is because these games like Redfield and Starfield, like the $70 is reflective of their quality and all the time and effort being poured in these big AAA games. Here's the question though. Redfall and Starfield were both supposed to come out this year, prior to any kind of, increase in pricing. So does that mean that they would have released this year, they would have got that price increase? Or were they not, meaning that it isn't really about the quality at all? Because if the games were released this year at 60, I know it's PR speak, but yeah. I just find that kind of interesting because the games were supposed to release this year under the $60 pricing. So the argument of, hey, this is about we need the $70 to represent the content and the quality of this game, just really kind of falls kind of flat in my opinion.
And it is interesting, they announced this like in the same couple weeks that they lowered the price of the Series S. Because I think they just lowered the Series S by like $40-50.
Yeah.
So it's like they're taking a hit one way, but then they announced that they're raising something somewhere else. So it's like, I don't know. Again, that still points to them wanting to beef up their subscriber
Yeah,
count to
they're
get
making
Game
the
Pass
entry
bigger.
into Game Pass easier by lowering the Series S price, and then this is going to push people even further. Like, oh, you just raise the price on individual games. Well, let me just make sure I keep that Game Pass subscription going. So,
Yeah, it all makes sense.
nope,
It's
there's the
almost
time.
like Phil should just hire us
Oh
to
yeah,
Oh
take care
no.
of their
we
financial
won't tank their
decisions.
company in under a month. No
Yeah.
worries. So,
I don't
Oh,
think you would want to.
all right, last
Phil,
topic, Chaz.
Phil, bro, reach out. All right, so last topic. This is kind of just something, seeing as how I think the Game Awards is on the 8th. Since we're a couple days out, I just kind of wanted to throw it out at you guys. We don't have to talk awards or anything. We already talked about that on the last topic. But almost every year it seems like when the Game Awards come around, there's almost always one or two major announcements that comes out, and I just wanted to kind of knock around some ideas with you guys about what we may see. I know there's been a lot of rumors about NetherRealm Studios, although Ed Boon recently came out and has kind of shot down some of those rumors about a new Mortal Kombat or a new Injustice, right? That's the other one. But yeah, he's kind of shot down some of that. But yeah, some other announcements. I know Microsoft announced the Series X a couple years ago. There was a game announced last year. I can't remember what it was. But anyways, yeah, what do you guys want to see? What's something random you would like to see pop up at the Game Awards? They have to have something. Actually, real quick, I did also see that I think they announced that the Game Awards was going to be shorter this year. Also, I think I remember seeing that.
I didn't see that, but I wonder if that's because Steam decided to give away free Steam Decks for every minute of the Game Awards. Did you see that?
Oh my gosh, I did not see that.
If you are watching the Game Awards through Steam, they are giving away a Steam Deck every minute while watching it. So maybe they made them make the Game Awards shorter so they didn't have to give away as many Steam Decks.
Game Awards 2022. But yeah, what did you guys want to see? What is something?
What do you
some
think,
random
Metal? Because I'm
love to see
a little
pop
all
up?
over the place with it.
Some game announcement.
I mean, I don't have anything specific that I would really want, to be honest. I mean, what do you got? Like,
The
I don't
only
really have anything
pie in
for
the
it.
sky thing I would want to see is I want to see like Fable 4 gameplay, like
Yeah.
Ooh,
because that's been
Gosh.
in development for a while. Haven't heard a whole lot about it. And, I feel like it's time to see some
forgot
Fable,
about
man.
that. I forgot
would
about
love-
Fable, man.
I would love to see Fable. Yeah.
That's what
That
I
or,
want to see. I don't think we'll see it, but that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
We still haven't seen shoot, what's the N64 shooter that's been
Oh, the
remake,
GoldenEye remake
GoldenEye?
stuff.
No, the other one. What's
Perfect Dark.
We haven't seen
Ooh.
Perfect
Oh,
Dark for a
well,
while
that
either.
I
has
don't know.
been.
That's...
That was like what basically had to be redone or something because they had to bring in more help from other auxiliary studios. Like we're not hearing from that game for a while. Like that one's
I've been
like
waiting on
2 or 3 years.
I've been waiting on Beyond Good and Evil 2 for like 5 or 6 years.
You're
at
going to
this
be waiting
point,
even
so.
longer. I think that game finally has surpassed. What was it? It used to be that Duke Nukem Forever was the longest game like in development. I think Beyond Good and Evil 2 has finally surpassed it.
So real quick, just to kind of touch on what I've mentioned before, the Game Awards last year, just for reference, ran for 3 hours 42 minutes.
Too long.
I told you those things are
way too long.
ridiculously long.
Oh my gosh.
Keighley recently said that he wanted the show to be more cinematic, opting for a shorter duration than previous years. In response to viewer feedback, he felt the viewers encountered fatigue with previous shows and worked to streamline by cutting some content. So it's he said he wants it to be around 2.5 hours this year.
They've decided just to cut all the award aspect of it. It's just gonna be trailers now.
You're probably
That's
not
probably
far.
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
man.
so yeah.
No more
shoot, I'm gonna
flexing.
What?
I'm gonna have to.
No more flexing.
Is
That's what they
Chaz
want,
freezing, or is he
like,
just not moving anymore? Nothing. Your face
No.
just like got super still.
Oh, I think I just zoomed in on something I was looking at. But I'm trying to think of what I would like to see. We kind of mentioned a couple things. Oh man, I tell you, I was looking forward to something NetherRealm Studios, but that kind of has been shot down. I feel like Microsoft, pretty routinely is the main one that shows something at this event. I'm trying to think of what they have that would excite people. Like
I bet like a longer Starfield preview, like different gameplay, new gameplay, because that
like
game is
I want
almost here.
I just don't want to see anymore. I don't need to see
Really?
anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh,
What about like
I'm sorry. Just going back because before we get off NetherRealm, if they did do something in NetherRealm, I wouldn't want to see Mortal Kombat or Injustice. I'd want to see.
Injustice?
I know. I'd want to see another DC versus Mortal Kombat.
Ooh, that would be nice. At least
Do you remember
I'd
that?
like
Chaz is like
that.
blanking
Yeah, I
out.
remember. No, I remember that.
He's blanking out. You need
I'm just
coffee?
thinking I'm thinking I would rather see some other mix up. Like I don't know, what's something
Marvel
else they could
versus
do?
DC with Mortal Kombat combat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or like
I'm sorry, I cut you off,
find a
Chaz.
I wouldn't
find
be
a way to
surprised though.
like maybe Mortal Kombat versus Tekken or something crazy. Do
Mm.
something, I don't know.
All right, well, that was time. But go ahead and finish your thought.
Oh no, did you guys throw out any ideas? I know you said Fable. I don't know if Gamer had anything.
I didn't really put in. I just want my Metroid Prime 4 and shit, and that's it. And Nintendo needs to stop. That's what I care about one day.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna let's see. Let me throw out something crazy. Um, shoot. I'm assuming it's gonna be something Microsoft related, and I'll say that they announce a new. I'll stick with fighting game. What's the Killer Instinct? I'll say they'll announce a new because it's been probably about
Since the release of the Xbox One,
so Xbox
9
One, and I was
years.
just
Yeah.
thinking Microsoft has to. I mean, they don't really have like a huge fighting game series other than Killer Instinct. Maybe it's time they
Maybe.
announce a new one.
Oh, I think I know what Microsoft is going to announce. They're buying Sony.
Oh,
Dun dun.
That would resolve this whole issue. I bet Sony would be happier. I bet we would get no more fighting about this whole Activision nonsense. Like that would put the whole thing to bed. So that'll be announcements we see.
I think
Oh,
fans would kill each other.
I just
Fans would commit
forgot.
suicide.
Another big recurring thing with the Game Awards is that guy, that developer that owns that company that he won Game of the Year last year.
Oh,
What's his name?
It Takes Two guy.
It Takes Two guy. He's been at every Game of the Year, and he always shows up and cusses and
Yeah.
announces something.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll announce a new
It Takes
game or
Three.
something. It Takes Three, yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll definitely cover the Game Awards and on our next episode, so you can definitely look forward to that. We'll kind of give our opinions on some of that stuff. We have two more hot topics. We have highlights from the Horde, and we have our main topic. So real quick, I say we blast through highlights of the Horde,
Yep.
and we'll go right into the main. So who wants to go first? Or I don't know if you switched your background
Yep,
for
I'm switched. I'm ready.
highlights.
I'm professional.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong pipe. I don't
Gross.
know.
Gross.
Who wants to go first with their highlight for this episode?
Go ahead, Mr. Phoenix.
Oh, me? Oh.
Yeah,
you
you
go.
can go first.
I don't feel like I
chose
have
something
anything.
super basic.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have anything good. I kind of cheated and did what Gamer did last time, where we had like a series of things. So you guys both know that I like to collect steelbooks. So I'm gonna show a selection of some of my favorite steelbooks that I have acquired over time. So let's see, what do I want to start with? I'll go with some of the big ones, because I mean they're not just steelbooks; they're like the steel tins. So I know Chaz knows all about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So the big box kind of metal tin Gears of War.
I love that thing.
That's so cool.
Microsoft was really cool. They were doing this like the first few years of the 360 life cycle. Like they wouldn't just release a steelbook; it would be like this whole freaking package of
I think
stuff.
there's a couple games that are like that. Yeah.
Yep. And it's got the standard kind of stuff in here. If I can get this out without breaking anything, but it's got like the games and art books and some stuff like stickers in it and stuff like that. Soundtrack. So I mean, it's the general kind of collector edition stuff. I just thought the steelbooks were really cool because they're big, they're beefy, they got like embossing on them, and then you have the little slip covers, so that they keep the same kind of branding for 360 and all that. So the Gears
It
one
also helps that.
That's so cool.
I was gonna say it also helps that Encase is one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah, exactly. So, and on the same line, the true greatest game of all time, Mass Effect. So, same thing.
I don't have that one. I
Yeah.
wish I had that one.
This is probably my favorite or close to it. Just man, look at that.
I didn't realize Saren was on the front.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
beautiful.
same thing. Got the little embossing of Mass Effect, and once again, it's got all the stuff kind of baked inside. But
I should buy that online. I guarantee I could find it for cheap.
yeah, I found this one. I think like Salvation Army or something. But yeah, love those. The other ones are all kind of standard steel books. This one that used to have a slipcover, and I've lost it, and it's beat all to crap. I just love this artwork. This is Halo
The
Wars.
Halo.
I didn't even know
Ooh.
they had a steel book, but it's really cool. It's got it's almost got like a metallic sheen to it, which is neat. And it's embossed on both, and then all that good stuff. It's
It's a really good game too. I actually like that one more than the second one.
I never played the second one. I remember I was terrible at the first one, so maybe that's what turned me
The
off
second
to it.
one, the second one's like more. Trying to think of the word. They definitely built upon everything the first one did, and it's prettier and it gameplay wise it plays better. But for some reason, I still enjoyed the first one more.
Gotcha. This one, I don't know if it ever had a slip cover. Maybe it did because it's a pretty kind of bland casing. But want to take a guess for this one?
Ooh,
Oh, God of War.
Yeah,
God of War.
this one's really cool.
God of War 3.
This is God of War the collection, so it's got all of them in there.
Ah,
So
Ooh,
was it
I would like to get my hands on
Origins, remaster of 3, and then the whole collection that has 1 and 2 on it. But yeah, that one's a neat one.
That's cool.
This is probably the prettiest one. Serrano, you're gonna like this one. This is Final.
Metroid.
No, I have that
Oh,
one over here.
oh.
I'll get to that one, but this one I
Oh.
think is the prettiest, just like artwork and everything. Final Fantasy 15 Deluxe Edition.
Ooh.
So it's got slipcover, but this
Ooh.
thing is just like it's got that
got them.
beautiful Final Fantasy artwork.
I like
So-
how you took
I got-
the sleeve. I like how you took the sleeve off all sexy like. You were like,
Well, you got to be
Ooh.
gentle with it. You got to
Ooh.
caress it as you like. Ooh.
I got one just like that, but it's for Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah. The 12
Yeah, I
one's
got-
not as. What does it have like that kind of artwork, or is it just the big like X11? Because I have that one.
is 12?
Let me take
is,
a look really
is
quick.
12 like
12?
the lightning stuff?
No, that's
It's like
13.
lightning and-
12 was
Oh.
the X11. It's just like branded really big on it. I don't think that was all that pretty. It also has the PlayStation 2 logo like across the top, which I didn't like. Well, while he's looking for that, if he is, I'm going to show you two runner-ups. The Metroid Prime trilogy. Since we're talking about Metroid, figured I should probably go and bring that one up. This
I
one,
have that one. That
just,
was really nice.
just cool. I mean, it's got an awesome picture of Samus on the back.
I have that, but I don't have the sleeve for it.
Yeah, I think it is the X11.
Yeah.
It's this guy.
Oh, well, I switch over. I don't have you on the big cam.
Yeah,
Keep showing it.
I got an X with this guy.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess it does have a little bit of the art in the back. Actually, I would like
Then
it
it has-
so much better if it didn't have the PlayStation 2 across the top. Like that
I
just makes it
completely
ugly.
agree. Yeah, if they didn't have that, that'd be it would be way better.
But
Yeah, I agree with you.
either way. And then
Cool.
the last one, Chaz, this one I did just for you. I don't know if it's really my prettiest or anything, but you'll probably appreciate it.
Stick of Truth.
Oh,
Or
that's
two.
cool.
No,
No,
that's not
the
Stick of Truth. That's the second
Fractured butthole.
one. Fractured
Fractured
Butthole.
Butthole.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's got all the game stuff inside. But
I'll be
That's
honest.
neat.
I'm not gonna
Mysterio on
go
the
get
Coon.
it. I'm not gonna go get it, but I actually really like the Cyberpunk one I have.
oh
That was
yeah.
pretty nice.
Did you know there's like 3 different Cyberpunk ones, depending which where you got it from?
I did not know that.
Like region.
It's not region. It's just like I think Best Buy or whatever had different variations of it you could get.
Mm.
So.
Cool.
But either way, I got more steelbooks. Maybe I'll show more at a different point. But those just a sliver, a little selection of the ones I enjoy. So.
Nice.
All right, who's next?
Yeah, you want to go ahead, gamer?
Okay. This is nothing special, but it was hard for me to find something. But I ended up like pulling this out of like my case. It's my Donkey Kong Country, pretty much in like mint
Is that it?
condition.
What's the
in a
price on
box.
that?
The problem, you know what happened is that I found this at a thrift store.
And they wrote on it.
And it was just, yeah, because they used to write their price on everything. And I have one in the case there of Super Star Wars, and it said $199 on it, and that was the price that I bought it for.
That's crazy.
And it was just thrown somewhere on top of some clothes. So, and I saw this, I was like, oh crap, no way. And I looked at it, I was like, I wonder. And I looked at it, and it still even had the plastic to it and
What? My
everything.
goodness. Is
Yep.
the there's the manual, all the
There's
inserts.
oh man,
Ooh.
everything. It came with whoa, Super Power Club and don't slip up. It's like, dude, that's so cool.
All that
And
looks
even had
minty too, man. Like no
yeah,
creases on
everything's
that manual.
yeah, so it's all mint. So
So
That's
besides
the
that
I
one that I
have
hated.
199 written on it, it's all good.
that's it.
Do you want to know how to get
Yep.
that off?
I would love to learn how to get that off
So
without damaging the casing.
So it's a little tricky, but I've done it in the past to varying success. Because same thing. Like I had bought a oh, what was it? I think it was like a boxed N64 from a Goodwill at some point, and they had written right on the box, which was stupid.
Oh man.
But if you take dry erase marker and you just rub over the Sharpie very carefully, it takes the Sharpie off. You just have to make sure the dry erase marker doesn't get
What?
soaked into the cardboard.
Are you serious?
Finish your thought. I have breaking news.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Anyway, but be careful with it. Like, I've had good success and I've had some bad success, but it does get rid of the Sharpie as long as it doesn't soak in. But if it's around a darker edge, sometimes you can get away with it. All right, what's the breaking news, Chaz?
But let's finish this. Let's finish the
Segment.
segment, and then
Okay.
That's
All
you
right.
guys are gonna be like, what? All right, go.
Oh man.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm excited now.
Oh, should I go do mine for mine then?
Is there anything else you
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to say, gamer, about yours?
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, that pretty much I ended up getting it. I got that and freaking Super Star Wars, which happens to have a box too, which I'll save for another time.
This is actually
That's
really
crazy. Though. That's an
surprising.
awesome price.
It is.
Wow. Okay, so I struggled to find something. I kind of went into my kind of nerdy den in the garage, just kind of rummaging through stuff. One of my favorite games, quite possibly, maybe the first game in my mind I can think of that I really ever played. But I chose something simple. It's just a guide for a game, but I love guides. I have a good amount of them. But it is the original Prima's official strategy guide for Pokemon Red.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, it's
I
so
got a
cool.
few of those. Nice.
I love guides. Like, and this one's in
Yeah.
pretty good shape. I picked it up at a
Yeah.
Goodwill for probably like a quarter or 50 cents or something. But I'm not gonna go too much. But yeah, it's a guide. Tells
Does
you
it
all about
explain
where
how
to
to
find
get missing
Pokemon.
no in it?
I don't remember.
No, I doubt it. That was like
That'd
what
be
But-
hilarious.
unsupported glitching.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the time, this is something I probably wish I would have had when I did originally play the game. But yeah, this is the official guide. I mean, it has the year. What is it, like 19? Oh yeah, 98 on it. So I don't know.
Nice.
One of the guides that I treasure the most in my guide
Nice.
collection.
That was a good one. I have fond memories of playing those RPGs with strategy guide open next to you.
Oh yeah. They always
I'm a
had
sucker.
some nice artwork.
I'm totally a sucker for magazines, man. As you can tell from my Dragon Ball, the Beckett's, and then I have a good amount of Prima. I don't know, something about magazines. I very much love them. But
Man,
yeah, so I think we're done with speedrun news. So we are gonna frantically throw in a new topic, and then we'll run into Pokemon Violet. So let me open this up. This is from IGN. It says breaking news as of 15 minutes ago, or as of 2 minutes ago, or no, as of around that time.
Spit it out,
So
Jazz.
Microsoft has literally just announced that they have made a 10-year commitment to bring Call of Duty games to Nintendo consoles.
What? That's
Yes.
weird.
I'll literally read this word for word. So, Xbox Phil Spencer has said that Microsoft has entered into a 10-year commitment to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo following its acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Spencer shared the news on Twitter alongside saying Microsoft will continue to offer Call of Duty titles on Steam after the deal is closed as well. It's just some tweets about him repeating all of that. The last time a mainline Call of Duty title has been on a Nintendo console was 2013's Call of Duty Ghosts, which made its way to the Wii U. Since then, Nintendo owners have been left behind since it comes to the best-selling franchises of all time.
Did I miss it? Did Nintendo accept that deal yet, or they just announced they're going to offer that deal?
Says Microsoft has made. It just says that they've made a 10-year commitment. So I'm not sure.
So they made the commitment.
They've made a commitment to Nintendo for 10 years worth.
Man, that's their way of just sticking it to Sony.
It just says, it says Microsoft come out tonight and announce 10-year commitment to release COD on Nintendo.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's already committed. That's it, done.
They're doing that for the whole buyout deal, because if they do that and then, you know, Call of Duty is being shared with Nintendo and they've accepted it, that's putting pressure now on Sony to accept that 10-year deal.
Oh my dude, that's such a kick in the nuts to
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Holy cow. I'm surprised that got announced at like darn near midnight on a Tuesday. Everyone's going to be talking about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's
a big
crazy.
Deal. That's a big deal.
Now, here's what's interesting about that. So I get why they did that. It's for, you know, kicking Sony in the balls. But you got to think, how well is Call of Duty going to run on the Switch? It's not.
Oh man.
So it's got to be planned for.
It's going to be like mobile versions or something. Yeah.
Okay, so it could be that mobile version, but you got to think they're planning that either for the Warzone, maybe they'll port Warzone over in kind of a neutered fashion. Or they're looking at releasing something more powerful with the next gen system. So Switch 2, whatever it may be, which if you think about a 10-year commitment, but depending when that starts, if that starts next year, is that maybe some kind of hint that Nintendo might also release new hardware next year to coincide with something like that? I don't know.
Possibly. Well, it's also interesting considering, like, yeah, we've always known that Microsoft and Nintendo have been more buddy than Sony, but like dang, like
I don't think it says buddy, but the competition there is different, right? Like Nintendo's already kind of played its own game, so like Nintendo and Microsoft, like they don't really conflict over the same, you know, pool of users the same way that Sony and Microsoft does. So for them to make a deal like that probably has more mutual benefits than it does, you know, non. So.
That's crazy. I'm glad I looked down at my phone because I probably shouldn't have been considering.
He wasn't listening about your amazing Donkey Kong story. Instead, he's like, "Oh, what's going on, Kotaku? What's?"
I'm sorry
that you're
bad friend.
I'm sorry
that your thrift store adventures are
right.
more adventurous than mine.
Content prevails, Chaz. Well, that's interesting.
Gamer.
That is interesting.
That's crazy, though. I would love to know the specifics of that deal. Like, is it just a commitment? Is there finances involved? Is there an exchange of currency? I would assume there's.
I don't
anything on.
know.
Is there anything on? Is there anything on paper?
I'm curious where the big benefit is for Nintendo. I mean, I guess the benefit
is Microsoft just getting something in return, where they're just like, we'll do this, but
what they're getting is a kick in the balls to Sony. That's the benefit here for Microsoft, because now it's leveled the playing field a little bit. The whole big argument Sony's had was, no, 10 years is not enough for Call of Duty. For this to be fair, Call of Duty needs to be available for everybody. It's the only way that, you know, Sony's going to survive in the ecosystem, and et cetera, et cetera.
And there is no negative for Nintendo. It's like one of your competitors gets kicked in the nuts, and you get a game on your console for the next 10 years.
If you have what is essentially Nintendo, I'm pretty sure is still, are they number one in the market right now, or biggest?
Probably.
Or they're up there, right?
Still are.
If they are willing to accept the 10-year deal, Sony has literally no excuse not to now, right? So that's, I think, the big push here. It's not that I think Microsoft is going to... I mean, they'll make more money, too. You got to think the install base on the Switch or Nintendo platform is huge. So they're going to get a lot of money off that. It benefits the Switch consumer. Sony's the one who's going to lose out here, because they're going to look like D-bags for not being willing to accept that 10-year deal, considering their place in the market, and Nintendo did. So I'm curious if that's going to push the regulators a little differently. I imagine it would.
Because it's not just Microsoft benefiting from the deal. It's like,
it's
benefiting the industry as a whole.
It's showing that there is a major competitor willing to accept that deal. It thinks it's sufficient. That's not, you know, going to hurt the marketplace by, you know, Sony's this right now. They think that 10 years isn't enough. It's just unfair for Microsoft to have full ownership over Call of Duty. It seems like Nintendo, the other big player, is like, yeah, that's cool. So if they're cool with it, it makes Sony's position a lot weaker. So that's interesting.
Time to buy stocks.
Very interesting. It's
I wonder if what's his face?
Naka.
Yuji Naka just bought some Nintendo stocks.
I've got
He's in his holding cell on Robinhood right now. Like,
I knew it.
I own a couple stocks of Activision Blizzard, so I don't know if that affects
You're
that
rich
at
now,
all.
Chaz. Sell.
Yes.
So
do it.
But yeah, that's super cool. We got breaking news on the pod. I'm not surprised.
We might be the first outlet to be reporting it right now. If you're watching this, clip it, put it on the Twitters and the Insta Faces and the TikToks.
And subscribe. Hit the
Yeah.
subscribe button.
I won't get to clip it until tomorrow. So
No, you have to stay up right now and clip it. This is like big news,
Ah.
man.
That is huge.
Of course, we still have to talk for
You're-
like 3 hours on Pokemon Violet, so it may
I
not
know.
matter.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to go on much about Pokemon, but yeah, that's crazy. Just kind of the ramifications of that is like,
Nuts.
I think that almost definitely means they're going to pull it out of Sony, right? They're pulling Call of Duty because, I mean, why
Pulling it?
else? Yeah,
No, I don't think they're gonna pull it.
I don't
They
think
will
pulling it,
still
they're stopping
they
their
will still
commitment, but-
offer the 10-year to Sony. I don't think that's going to change because the whole thing this is showing is that Microsoft is willing to play ball. They're not going to hold Call of Duty hostage. They're willing to let the other competitors use it. And Nintendo is showing that it's showing that it's good guy Microsoft. That's my take on it. The deal is still going to be there for Sony. And then if Sony doesn't take the deal and still kind of stands on its high horse, they're going to look like the jerks holding back their own player base. Nintendo's accepted it. Microsoft's willing to go ahead and let the Call of Duty exist on multiple platforms. So if Sony doesn't take it or fights it, they're going to look like jerks. Which, to be fair, that's how Sony has looked for the majority of this generation.
Like
They've taken some pretty jerkish stances. So if they double down on it, man, that's only bad for Sony right now. So that's interesting. That's a very interesting.
You know, that also paves the way for Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix and Smash.
That's
we're one
right.
step
There
away.
it is.
Oh man, we talked about something like that recently.
Got to bring
on
back
one of the other
Sakurai to
podcasts.
keep on making some more characters. He doesn't need to retire.
Coltrane versus
He's
Coltrane
gonna
versus
die
Mario.
making a game.
9 years old, testing out combos.
You imagine Coltrane
Oh my
freaking
god.
chainsaw gunning Mario.
Woo!
Oh my gosh.
man. Interesting.
Dude,
Interesting.
that's some crazy news. Holy crap.
Yeah. Oh, tomorrow that's going to be like on Unlocked, on Beyond.
But you heard it here first
and-
on the EnteR ChazmaN podcast. Your number one
Oh,
place
yeah.
to get the most up-to-date news this one
Yes,
time,
wow.
never
Yeah.
again.
Wow. While ChazmaN is looking up on his phone, looking at news for you guys, and
While you're-
disregarding what we're
Here's
saying.
here's how
Well,
you
Gaber's
become.
talking, and I'm just like,
Okay, Chaz, this is how you become the number one podcast or YouTuber. You just stream 24/7, just looking at your phone the entire time, and whenever news pops up, you go ahead, you
Oh,
shout it out.
okay.
Do it, YOLO.
I guarantee you, Greg. What's his Greg Miller? Is that his name? I guarantee you, he probably got this news like 4 or 5 hours ago.
Well, if IGN already posted it, it's clearly not new. Like major outlets
Yes.
already talking about it. So
Yes.
now, if Nintendo had called you directly and be like, "Oh, Chazzy-kun, we just got the
You
Call
mean-
of Duty."
You mean my uncle? My uncle called me. My uncle that works
Your uncle
at
who works at
Nintendo.
Nintendo. That's pretty good.
Yes.
All right, let's move the show on.
Yeah.
One
All
more
right,
big
so
topic.
final topic of the day. Yeah, we're gonna move on to what the entire world has been waiting for, is our opinion on Pokemon Violet and Scarlet.
It sucks. Good night,
Um,
everybody.
But
No,
yeah,
it's good.
Team
I'll be
ChazmaN,
honest.
go.
I think
What?
Phoenix has probably finished the game at this point. I have not even finished it. But yeah, I'm curious. I really want to hear Phoenix.
I know. You need to go first. Because
me to go
because I've beaten it, my opinion is shifted a bunch of places. So I want to hear kind of where you're at, how you're feeling about the game.
I have heard something about the ending having some interesting aspect of it, which I'm not quite. I read somebody said that on Twitter. That was like the ending had some ramifications or
Mhm.
on something. So I don't know. But I mean, as far as like where I'm at with the game so far, I'd say my Pokemon are probably like upper 30s, lower 40s in terms of level. And I'll just say, for me, I'm very like I'm lukewarm on it. Like, I'm not loving it, not hating it. It just feels like a kind of unpolished Pokemon game. I don't know how more to explain it. Like, graphically, it's not super appealing. The gameplay isn't a huge step up from something like Arceus. I don't even know if you could call it a step up. I think Arceus probably had some more interesting aspects in terms of the free roaming and the free catching of Pokemon. Like, that was more interesting. I don't really appreciate how the game has handled like gyms. I feel like it's kind of neutered
Yeah.
some of the gem aspects. Like, some of these, I'll be honest, like I don't have a problem. I know Pokemon is tailored towards children or younger people,
I
but
don't think
man,
that's not a good excuse. Like people who
some of these. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say people who that their go-to excuse is, oh, that's a kid's game. Most video games are geared towards kids. When you think about like it's a kids medium in many ways. Not saying that adults don't have fun with it, but you think about okay, Breath of the Wild. Kids play Breath of the Wild. I'm sure that was the number
Mhm.
one demographic they were selling to. There is far more depth and attention to detail in a game like Breath of the Wild than there is in Scarlet and Violet. So just because it's a kids game doesn't mean it can't be good and well thought out and
Oh,
polished. So
that's a good point. I just mean like some of the like they've changed it to where you don't just walk into the gym, defeat everyone until you get to the boss. Like it kind of works now that you like for some reason you get to the gym and there's some sort of weird request that the gym person at the desk asks you to do. And man, these like little side quests
the olive rolling.
to olive rolling and trying to
Stuff
figure
that
out how
has
to cook
nothing
them.
to do with like Pokemon battles.
It
Like,
has nothing to do with Pokemon.
so
Yeah.
Metal, you go to get ready to fight this gym leader. I think it's like the bug gym leader or something like that. And then before you do, you have to take this qualification test. And what the test is some weird activity. You go into this maze, and there's this giant oblong egg that you have to bump into and push into a soccer goal.
Are you
That's
serious?
your goal. Nothing to do with Pokemon. I guess you can technically stop and like fight a
And
trainer to get like
you can avoid the
shortcuts.
trainers in there.
I didn't
Usually
even know
you're
you could
forced to
fight
fight
them.
trainers.
Yeah, I didn't know that was even an option. I just pushed the ball to the end. Took about 10 seconds and it was done. It was the stupidest thing. But I'll come back on that.
That sounds disappointing.
Yeah, and most of
But
the
that's why I
tests
was
are like that.
that's why I was saying like to me like
Mm.
and I guess I wouldn't have a problem with some of those changes if they were done interestingly or if they were just more adult approach like those some of those like requirements are like so childish in terms of like how easy they are. It's like I
They're
don't
just
know,
not
like I
thought
didn't.
out very well. They are
No,
overly
they're not.
simplistic. Like I don't want to say childish as in okay, there's like a adult can't have fun with this concept, but there's no meat on the bone. Like one of the
There's
ones you do
another
later
one.
on is just like QTE. You just press button combos.
Yeah. There's another one where you get to the gym and the gym leader is in another town and he forgets his wallet. And all you have to do is walk to the other town and give him his wallet, and then he goes back to the gym.
Oh no, that's
And
not
then you
fair.
have to
You have
walk
to
back
win
to
an
the.
auction at the same time, which I'm just kidding. That
Oh,
was
I forgot. That's
no, it
so
was pointless.
stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
and all yeah, the auction all you have to do is choose the highest number. You just because it's not your money. What does it matter? You just give.
I don't think you can
I
lose. Yeah, the
yeah.
gyms are handled poorly.
I don't know.
Hmm.
I just feel like the extracurricular stuff is just for me. It's just not super entertaining. Like
Mhm.
I'm not feeling super crazy about just random. I actually feel like I'm starting to get bored of walking around and just catching Pokemon. Like I don't. I'm not super entertained by the gym stuff. The Mega Titan battles with the Pokemon are like super simplistic as well, man. Each of them are the same. It's like, oh, find this big giant Pokemon, you battle it. This guy gives his stupid dog Pokemon a sandwich. And it's
Oh, you're
like,
gonna have dog lovers yelling at you, Chaz. Be nice to Mabostiff.
well, that's another problem. Is like again, like we've you touched on it, but it's like I understand this is made for children, but I feel like I'm starting to get to the point with the dialogue and some of the story here where I'm like, is Pokemon ever gonna like go anywhere? Like some of the dialogue is just so
And
corny. Like
to be fair, the ending does get a little dark.
okay,
And I'm not disagreeing with you. Like there are some very corny dialogue moments. You can say that in a lot of games, though. To be fair, I'm not sure if I would say it's necessarily just childish or if it's just simple or poorly written. I don't know. But to your point, like there's not enough there at the very least.
I just like I feel like this is the first time I've played a Pokemon game, and I know I've complained about other Pokemon games, but this is probably the first time where I've played one where I'm like, okay, where are we going from here? Like,
Mhm.
I get it. You're probably gonna keep getting the same thing, but I don't know. This is the first time I've bought one day one where I'm like, I don't know. I'm worried about where this is going. Like, to me, there's not much advancement. there's not much interesting new things, and I felt like that's what Arceus brought. Was at least Arceus was kind of an ugly game, and it had its you know its it was kind of clunky in terms of how the graphics and all that looked. But like at least Arceus was bringing something new to the table, and I don't feel like this game brings anything new to the table. The seamless transition between free roaming and battling is gone. Like I don't know.
I want to speak to that point very quickly because I want to. One thing I feel like I want to make sure I express going into this. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, this doesn't really make me worried about the future of Pokemon. I think a lot of people, if you enjoyed Arceus, you look at Scarlet and Violet, and it's a step down. That's my big take on this, just from my experience. I ended up loving Arceus. Not everybody did, and that's fair, but I really like the changes it made. And I think that
we both played it together, and I loved Arceus.
But I think here's my point. A lot of people, I think, assume that, okay, because Arceus came out and they liked all these changes, that this game was going to incorporate all those new best features of Arceus. That could have never happened, because you got to think, Arceus came out January. This game releases less than 10 months after. This game was probably done, baked in the oven as far as a production standpoint a year ago, before Arceus even came out. Like, game development doesn't just, turn on a dime. Oh, Arceus just came out? Let's now revamp all of Scarlet and Violet to take this feedback in. I'm sure they took some, but a lot of the core elements that make Scarlet and Violet what it is were probably already somewhat set in stone before Arceus ever released. And there's not development time in there to go and change a bunch of stuff. The past 10 months has been polish to a certain extent. The game's not super polished, but they've been working on systems and coding and final elements of it. So I think people expected this to be an advancement of Arceus. I don't think that's ever what this game was supposed to be. Arceus, I think, was the kind of palate cleanser, so you could get used to a big shift in change to kind of test the waters. And this was their safe bet, right? This was introducing a few of those Arceus elements that they felt like people are going to be happy with, while still keeping as much of the tried and true Pokemon form as they could in there, so they didn't lose or alienate those who didn't like Arceus. I think the game that follows both of these in 2 or 3 years is going to be the one that people are really wanting. That's going to be where we see... You give me that face, but that's how development's going to work on this. Hopefully, they take the feedback from Arceus, the stuff they're learning from Scarlet and Violet, and you see that change in that future game. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but that's your best shot at it happening. So, if anything, I'm more hopeful for that future game. Man, okay, let your face speak, Chaz, because it's saying things.
You sound... I don't know, man. I think you're giving Game Freak too much credit. I wonder, again, we had this talk back when Arceus came out about like where the idea came from. Okay. And I remember we were like, one random person within Game Freak, somebody was just like, yo, let's listen to Brandon on this one. And Brandon had this like crazy idea. And then Brandon got let go and went to work for some other company. It's like, I don't know, like...
Did I play for Digimon?
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. But you honestly, that's not how this played out, right? Arceus was clearly a shift, and they clearly showed by releasing Arceus they were willing to make a major change. But there's no way they could have known that
there's no way they could have known so quickly with the production cycle of this one versus Arceus. They could have known Arceus was that well received.
Yeah, they could have known how well Arceus was going to play out, what from Arceus was going to work and not work, to see that implement here. It was
2 to 3 years of production for
exactly.
I get it. Yeah.
Scarlet and Violet was the safe bet. Now, I'm not saying it's the better game. I think Scarlet and Violet is in many ways, to me, some people say subjectively. I think it's objectively worse than Arceus in a lot of ways, and I'll get to my rationale for that in a minute. But I don't think that worries me necessarily about the next game, because now they're going to start their 3-year cycle here pretty soon to plan for whatever the next Pokemon game is after this, right? And now they can actually hopefully take feedback from Arceus, Scarlet and Violet, and make hopefully the right blend of the two. Will they do that? I don't know, but I think there is some optimism there. Could they botch it? Of course they could, but as I said, I'm at least hopeful for it. But I don't think Scarlet and Violet is where the game should go. It should not continue this direction explicitly. I went back and I played some Arceus a couple of days ago just to kind of see the feel of it, and it immediately felt better to me. Maybe it's just because I clicked with Arceus better. I'll tell you what, I mean, I don't know what else you kind of want to get into. I tried to make this a real quick pros and cons for Scarlet and Violet, because that was the only
You
way I could
take
kind of
it
wrap
away.
my head around.
That's all I really had was just, to me, that's the only new stuff was like some of the Titan battles, some of the gyms, which I already mentioned. The open world to me feels like a bit dumbed down versus Arceus. So you take it away. What do you got?
So this is kind of how I started. I did a pros con list, and then I also listed out things that Arceus did that this game didn't, and we can decide if that was a good or a bad thing. So I'll list the pros. I liked that you could skip trainers. You didn't have to interact with any trainers. You could see them, wave at them, keep on going, or you could stop and fight them, which I think was kind of nice. Because there were times
different.
Well, I didn't really, at least in older school games, like it did get annoying sometimes when a trainer saw you from halfway across the screen and you were forced to battle and there was no way around them. So I liked the option.
I agree with that.
The 3 different tracks were nice. Like you haven't probably played it yet, Metal, but you basically, after the beginning of the game, you can go pursue 3 different main quest lines. You got the standard gym path, you've got this Titan path, which is kind of like the main narrative, if you will, of kind of, you know, the legendary quests and stuff like that. And then you've got what's kind of like the new Team Rocket quest. So you have 3 different things you can pursue.
The areas are kind of level gated too. Like not level gated, there's no gate, but when you travel around, you're like, oh, I'm approaching level 20s and I'm only in the 10s. Or
Yeah,
if I go
and
this
then
way,
you
I'm
get
in
like nerfed the minute you walk in.
Yeah.
and you can still push on, but it can be a
but it's
grind.
gonna be
While we're
extra hard.
talking about that, this isn't necessarily my pro-con thing, but the way they handled level progression was weird, because technically you can go any direction in the game. Like, you can walk out of the school and go straight up north to the highest level trainers and start fighting. So the game doesn't, like, level scale with you. Things are just gated, right? And that's good and bad in some ways. Like, technically you could go and just beat your head against a wall for 3 hours and capture a level 50 Pokemon at level 10 if you had the, you know, facilities to do that. But the game doesn't really technically still make that feasible, because if you don't go through the gym battles that lead up to it, you don't earn the badges to control the high level Pokemon. So it almost is pointless to even do that. So it's kind of a false sense of open narrate or exploration, right? You can technically, but the game's gonna fight you the entire way. It's kind of its way of forcing you to progress still down. You need to go counterclockwise around the map or something like that.
And can I throw something else out? Is I just thought about it, but like a big problem I have with this game is I don't want to say it's ridiculously easy. It is easy, but it can be made harder if you go in a specific direction, obviously. But I feel like a big downfall with modern Pokemon games is the idea of the XP share. Like, I get it, it would be much slower without it, but I don't know, like, it gives you a purpose to use other Pokemon, and I don't know, like, I feel like...
I agree with that as far as using the other Pokemon. I like the convenience of using it to easily level up Pokemon, because I'll tell you, there's so many Pokemon now. If I had to sit and manually use all 400 Pokemon to level them up, there's no way I would ever get through
But you
this
can
game.
capture their leveled up forms.
Sometimes.
Their leveled up forms are walking around, too.
Yeah, but
like...
not always. I mean, so yes, it wouldn't be exactly 400, but you see what I'm saying, right? You'd have to spend a lot more time leveling up individual Pokemon to get the most out of them. So
I just feel like... They're sorry, good.
No, go. So we just say your point.
I was just going to say, in the older games, the XP share wasn't something you ever started out with. That was something you had to earn. And I feel like that should be the case here, where, like, we reach a point, you get the XP share, and then it feels like oh yeah, now I don't have to, I can play the way I want. You know, I mean, I'm not saying you should.
I don't inherently disagree with that. I can definitely see the pros to that. I think the main reason I would maybe lean in that camp is if you didn't have it, it would encourage you to spend more time using each Pokemon. But honestly, I think Arceus had a better solution to it with those research challenges. Like, so yeah, the experience is still being shared, but you were encouraged to use every Pokemon to complete these other challenges per each Pokemon. So that's my thing. You get more use out of each Pokemon. The experience really is just kind of a way of gating off how much power he has at various points. But that's not a bad point. I can definitely see the argument either way. Anyway, okay, so back to my pros. So 3 tracks. Compared to Arceus, there is deeper combat here. Like, Arceus had a pretty streamlined fighting system, for better or for worse, which worked for that game. This game's more competitive. They bring back a lot of the tried and true, like, abilities that Pokemon can have that Arceus didn't have. So combat is more in depth. What else? My pro list is pretty short, to be honest. I started reaching here towards the end. Mystery trades are back, if you remember those. So you could just go into the online system and just surprise trade. Not that that's really a core gameplay mechanic, but it's a nice feature to the game. Now these, you could tell me, Chaz, if you think they're pros or not. So this game has co-op. Is that a pro or a con?
No, it's a con. We played co-op and
It's neither right now. It's literally superfluous. Like, so technically, the way it works, Metal, is me and Chaz could jump into the same game, and I could see his trainer walking around fighting battles. It doesn't do anything to interact with me, though. I literally just see him. I can't battle him. We don't like go into gyms together or anything. Like if we go into like a gym or a city, he goes into his own instance to fight the gym leader, and I would go into mine because the gyms are made for single battles. It's not like we can go do double battles together unless I'm really missing something. And if I am, please someone tell me, because that would give so much more depth to it. It literally is just we can then go into the world. We actually went completely separate directions. I just did my own thing. He did his. We were in the same game and we forgot about it halfway through. Like there's almost no interaction from a co-op level. So I think
that sounds like a way of a good opportunity wasted.
Yes.
oh yeah.
Like there
it felt
is
pointless when we
stuff
did it.
they could do there. It was cool to see him running around for a minute, but if we could have like, got together and had like quests we could do. There's no side questing in this game really, by the way, which Arceus had. Which I think in an open world game, you really needed something like that to flesh things out. Not just co-op related, just side quests in general. But anyway, co-op to me was a bit of a bust. You've got co-op raids. I'm not a big fan of the raids. I find them pretty one note, but some people like them. And you can make your Pokemon auto battle. If you want them to just level up, you can send them out, he'll run around in front of you and just fight Pokemon, which is kind of a neat feature. I'm not sure if it's a pro. It's a feature, but it's kind of neat. That's my pro list, honestly. There's not a whole lot else that I'll also explicitly say good. My con list is at least double that size.
Oh boy.
So there's no character customization. Like coming from Arceus, you could change your outfit, change your look, everything. Okay, let me take it back. There is some character customization, but it is the lightest. Like you have a selection of hairstyles, less than Arceus had. You have to wear school uniforms because you're a school student. You can choose between 4 uniforms. That's it. You have the winter version, the summer version, the spring version, whatever. And they're all variations of the same color and whatnot because they have to be purple for Violet or orange for the other one. I think the only customization you really have is like your shoes and your backpack. So not everybody cares about that, but Arceus let you wear a freaking ninja outfit. Like, I don't know. It was a pretty big departure.
They let Brandon go, man.
I know, poor Brandon. He's doing better things. Maybe he's working with Yuji Naka on the next Sonic. No, wait.
Oh yeah.
Working with Capcom? What?
Yeah, Capcom. Yeah.
Some of these are things that came from Arceus, so I'm trying to skip those right now. The world is really bland. Like, it is an open world with no real distinguishing features to it. Like, some people are going to argue, oh yeah, well there's this one mountain over here. It is the most generic mountain that you could have. There's like a lake with no distinguishing features. Like, when I think about Pokemon open world, I picture like Pokemon Snap open world. Like the detail of those worlds. And I know that's not feasible necessarily on the Switch hardware and et cetera, but when I think about walking through an environment with Pokemon in it, I picture Pokemon Snap, like especially the new one, like the way the Pokemon interact with stuff. They're jumping through waterfalls, they're playing with each other of different species out and whatever. Like they're living in this world that is lush and has landmarks and looks interesting. Some of that is art style. That isn't just limitations of hardware. That is lack of artistic direction with how they design this world. This world is just flat, boring textures. You have the lake area, you have the swamp area. There's nothing definitive about any of it. So the world's boring is what I'm getting at. There are Pokemon running around in it, but not interacting with it, if that makes sense. So that's disappointing. As I said, no side quests, which once again, Arceus had side quests. I'm not saying I need like even a great side quest. I would have been fine with some collection stuff. Go capture 10 normal type Pokemon. Go fight X amount of whatever. I don't know, something. But beyond the aspect of capturing a Pokemon in the wild, there's nothing encouraging you to go and explore the world. Give me something to do. We already mentioned the gym stuff, the olive rolling and the gym test. Most of them are terrible. I'm trying to recall if there was any of them that was worth doing, but not really. Um, None of the
Those are
gym tests were
boring.
interesting. They were all pretty boring. The gym
The
battles, you only fight the gym leader themselves.
leader, pretty
Every
much.
once in a while, they'll give you like one little battle in front of it with like a gym minion or something, but it's not like the old school gyms where you'd have to work your way through a gauntlet of like 8 different pre-trainers before you got to them. So gyms are a step
And also
down.
the like I forgot the what are they, the fortresses that you take on, like those are really boring too.
Yeah.
Like that, the whole automatic battling in this game is super simplistic. You just mash the right button and your Pokemon go out and fight, and it's just like,
Which I'll
you
tell
do
you
that.
is fine, I think, for while you're walking around the open world. If you're just trying to, like, gather some resources or whatnot, it's a nice, I think, quality of life thing to let the Pokemon just kill and gather some resources. I didn't like it for those star battle things, though, as an actual like mechanic you have to interact with. Because you're right, they're boring. Like, there are these sections where you basically have to run in and have your Pokemon automatically beat X amount of other Pokemon, and then you fight basically the Team Rocket leader. And it's just boring. You literally
It's
walk
always is
in.
a car.
Yeah,
Like the first couple I fought are just car Pokemon or something.
yeah, they are all identical. Besides one or two extra Pokemon they use, like those were lackluster. Spoilers: by the time you get there, the Elite Four is pretty terrible. Like, you know how in the old school Elite Four, how you would go through, like, you go into the first room, it would be themed like the Pokemon type that leader uses. You'd fight him in that room, it'd be kind of dramatic, and then you move on to the next one. So, spoilers, you go into this Pokemon League, you go into this really bland white room, looks like an insane asylum kind of thing. It's just an empty black room or white room. And then the first Elite Four member comes out, you fight him in this big boring white room. Then he's like, okay, calling in the next guy, and the next guy walks into the same white room and you fight him. Then the third
That's
one,
lame.
then the fourth one. And it is literally just you stay in this one super sterile boring room and just fight trainer, 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 trainer. Yeah, that was pretty boring. So most of the paths you go down all end up being pretty lackluster. The gym one is probably the worst one with the Elite Four. The Titan one ends up being
The Titan was
better
probably the most entertaining one.
because it actually leads into what is arguably, I guess, the core narrative of it with the professor and stuff. And I won't get into that too much right now. I'll let you.
Because I'm not in that.
Yeah, and I don't
section.
want to. I don't want to spoil that for you. Not that there's a lot to spoil, but you go into a new section of the map at the very end, and there is some interesting narrative stuff about, how you get this legendary Pokemon, where they come from, what's happened to the professor. Like, there's some intrigue there from the narrative. There's almost none of that throughout the rest of the game. So they kind of just all drop it at the end. I honestly think the last section gets a little tedious, so you can tell me how you feel about it when you get there, but the narrative is at least interesting. And then what's the other track? The Team Rocket Star Team battle track. The ending narrative is okay-ish to kind of wrap it up, but you see it coming, so it's, not really overly interesting. All the tracks are bland. That's all I get at. So your main reason to go out and explore this world, to go on these tracks, most of them are pretty lackluster. So your only real reason to go around the world is to capture all the Pokemon, and I don't even think that's overly engaging. I don't know. I know I'm coming across real negative, but most of it was done better in Arceus. So I'm going to go to my list of things that Arceus did better, in my opinion. You could throw and aim your Pokeballs. Like in this, you have to lock on, you throw the Pokeball, you can't miss, you just throw the Pokeball and it always hits the Pokemon, and then
Gamer,
you fight
did
them.
you play Arceus? You didn't play Arceus?
I haven't, but now I want to
If you're going to play one, play Arceus.
because it sounds like it. Because I haven't touched a Pokemon game since X and Y.
Yeah, I think you would like Arceus a lot. I'll tell.
I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, Arceus is a whole refresh of the Pokemon formula. Like the stuff that is working kind of in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Arceus introduced the pseudo open world, free reign, collecting Pokemon thing. Arceus is what started that. But the cool thing about it is, like, Arceus kind of merged together the traditional way of catching Pokemon with kind of the Let's Go version, where you could sneak up to a Pokemon, chuck a ball at it, and if you just chuck a ball, you could actually try to capture it. Like, you didn't have to fight it. You could just chuck a ball, just like in the original first episode of Pokemon where he captures a Caterpie. No fight. You just chuck the Pokeball at him, and if you're successful, you capture him. If not, you're not.
Gamer, if you play Arceus again,
actually,
I'll play. If you play again, I'll play again, because I would love to talk about it again.
Yeah, I completely forgot I played Let's Go. Never mind, I played Let's Go, and those
Oh,
are
okay.
that was a fun. Those are fun, like Eevee and Pikachu. I played them both. They were fantastic
Yeah, they were
in their
fun.
own way.
And part of
They
those
were fun for
mechanics
what
are
they
in
were.
Arceus, as far as like, okay, I can chuck the ball and I can just
Yeah,
capture them. But you had the option. If you wanted, you could fight the Pokemon and weaken it. So you could actually
right.
choose your Pokemon. Like you literally chose your Pokemon on the list, grabbed its ball, and then chucked that ball at the other one. It felt like you were the actual trainer. Like you were actually choosing your Pokemon and manually selecting it and chucking it. Some people might have thought it was tedious. I liked that level of tedium, I guess, to interact with it. So you had more option with how you collected or fought your Pokemon.
And the side quests were more interesting. Like
It actually had side quests.
you
Yeah.
actually talk to people, and people would be like, "Hey, this is, I lost my thing. Can you go find it for me?" Or, "Hey, I would really love a picture of this Pokemon. Can you go take a picture of it
Yeah.
for me?" Like,
It's not that they were overly involved, but they were just quick, short little things that you could do while you were out there that fleshed out the people in the world. They had the one side quest I really liked from Arceus where, remember the kid who got lost,
the balloon,
the Drift Bloom?
Pokemon.
And I thought that one was
Yeah.
really interesting because like that was one of the few like Pokedex entries I know. Like the Drift Bloom Pokemon used to like steal kids and float them off.
Yeah,
And they literally referenced that in Arceus. Like this was the origin of kind of where that Pokedex entry came from, was these kids on the beach and the Drift Bloom were luring them out there. So it's kind of this really horrifying dark thing. But it was just in a side quest, which was kind of neat. Where am I at? You could what else? Oh, do you remember the what do they call them? The weird dome zones, like the rifts or tears.
Oh, I remember those.
You basically
Those
had
are
these
cool.
weird dimensional rift zones that just popped up randomly in the map, and Pokemon from like the future and all these different areas would just pop up in these areas, and there were these really just different zones that were randomly, or they were on a
tough.
timer. They were like
They were
high
tough
level
too.
Pokemon, like super evolved Pokemon that would come in.
ooh,
And it just made those really like exciting moments. You just going around the map, and all of a sudden, bam! This rift thing would pop up. This big hurricane would shoot from the sky, and it was just this really cool moment. None of that is in Scarlet and Violet. It is just bland the entire time. What else? Oh, this was a small thing. In Arceus, I forgot you could do this. When you battle Pokemon, you still have control of your trainer, and you can walk them around the battle and actually watch the Pokemon as they're fighting from different perspectives.
oh, that's always fun.
Yeah, in Scarlet and Violet, you can control the camera, but you're not controlling the trainer. Like, I guess it's one of the things like I really liked about Arceus. You felt like you were the trainer. In this game, you just feel like you're watching everything, if that makes sense. You're kind of third person instead of actually in the shoes of the trainer. What else? The navigation with the Pokemon was a lot better. Like, in this game, you can hop on your legendary Miraidon or Koraidon, whatever, and like he can end up flying and climbing stuff and whatnot. Compared to the way you can fly and move around in Arceus, it's so much worse. Like Arceus, you could jump, like fly up on your one Pokemon, like literally soar across the entire map. You do it in this game, your Pokemon like flies for like 10 seconds and then just like tanks. So you can't even get like across the map with it. Like it's neutered quite a bit. You had the boss battles inside of Arceus, which I know I wasn't a huge fan of, but I remember Chaz, you liked them a lot.
I really like those sections.
Compared to what we have now, I miss them a lot.
Way better.
Yeah, because even though I didn't love them, I liked them well enough, and they were interesting at least. There's nothing like that here. Like you had like literal boss battles.
You almost could battle Pokemon without battling them, because you were like whittle them down with the bag of.
Yeah, you had to like throw rocks at them or something like. I know you haven't played it, Metal, but you wouldn't use your Pokemon to fight these legendary Pokemon. You literally would like have a bag of rocks and you would just run after the Pokemon, chucking it out. And some of them had more to it than that, but like I don't know, the Pokemon felt threatening too. Like they could actually attack the trainer. Like your trainer had a health bar, and you could get knocked out like without even
you fight this giant Arcanine. And like the volcano and stuff, it's like really cool.
And he could straight up murder you, like not murder your Pokemon, murder you, the trainer.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I said like you felt like the trainer in this game. Like everything has felt like something you were doing or interacting with instead of just the Pokemon doing it for you. I thought the art animations were better in Arceus. Not that they were great, but they were better than what we have in Scarlet and Violet. Neither game looks good, but I feel like Scarlet and Violet looks worse because it doesn't have the cell shading to it. So it just like nothing's hidden, if that makes sense. Inside of Arceus, the cell shading kind of masks some of the grossness and muddiness of some of the textures. But in Scarlet and Violet, they're kind of just on full display, and they don't look good. There's probably more things. I know we're running long, so I won't keep going through
No,
it.
it's fine.
In general, I feel like Scarlet and Violet is one step forward, but two steps back from what Arceus was doing. Like, Arceus is the better template to build off of, in my opinion. Some people are going to disagree because Arceus was not good if you like Pokemon for, like, competitive.
I don't see how it's a step forward.
Here's where it's better. For people who play Pokemon for competition, this is the better game. Like, you have far more you can do as far as raising your Pokemon, curating their abilities, raising them for certain, like, types of competitive application. Like, this is the more tried and true, like, core competitive Pokemon formula. But if you don't care
I just
about
thought of
competing...
something.
What?
No, I was wanting to wrap it up, but I just thought about a major aspect of this game. Oh, sorry, finish your thought.
I was just saying, like, if you like competing, this is the better game. The co-op kind of side of things where you fight with other trainers, this is better. But you could add that element to Arceus, and I think have the better game, the best of both worlds. So
I just thought about the one other aspect is that I didn't care for was the terrestrialization. I didn't really feel like it added anything, and each Pokemon doesn't have its own unique terrestrialization look. It's like they have like
the
a
looks
set
are
of like
disappointing.
they're like 3 to 5 different sets, and
No, there's
they
18.
just choose. Oh, is there? Oh,
There is
I
a
couldn't
look
tell.
for every type. You just probably saw the most common. So here's the thing. Technically, I think the terrestrializing or whatever it's called is a pretty interesting mechanic because basically what it does, Serrano, like say you have a fire type Pokemon, you could find a fire type Pokemon that has a water type terrestrialize. So you could be fighting normally, and then if you come up against a Pokemon who you're weak against, but that's weak against water, you literally can change your Pokemon type, which opens up a whole level of competitive play there because now you can have a separate typing that can protect your weakness. So from a competitive side, that's pretty cool. And if you can go out, and that makes looking for Pokemon interesting because you can find Pokemon that have random terrestrialized types and have really cool kind of combinations. So I think it's a good mechanic. I think the look of it is kind of crap. I don't like the crystallization and the weird hats they put on it. That makes it seem kind of cheesy. But the idea of what's happening there is neat. If they could have found a better way to do it, like you didn't crystallize, but like your Pokemon, like if you turn to a water type, literally change the look, or like I don't know if a good way to do it, like without really making a lot of work for the developers. But imagine if your Charmander, instead of having a flame on his tail, it turned to like an icicle or something to show he changed type. That would be really cool. And I know that's a huge amount of extra effort for the developers, but that would be a better aesthetic change. But the concept of terrestrializing, I think, is good, and I think it will add a lot of competitive play to the game. But I don't know. It's a step somewhere. I'm not gonna say it's the right direction. There are some things this game does it like okay, like the terrestrializing, but I think Arceus is the better foundation to build off of. Take the competitive stuff that worked here, some of the modern flair, whatever you want to call it, and shove that into Arceus. Do you feel like they should stick with the open world, or should they go to what Arceus did as far as having like the mini open hubs? Because I felt like those ended up playing a little bit better.
I agree with you. I just feel like if it worked better in Arceus, that's probably where they should go. I don't feel like this world that they've developed with this title is just not that interesting.
It's not.
It's not that interesting. The I'm not blaming the Switch, but either the power of the Switch or Game Freak's.
I don't think it's the Switch. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't any issue with the Switch being overpowered. Go ahead.
The world is just bland. The world is bland. The Pokemon don't interact with it. It doesn't feel like
lacking design is what it is. Like, I'm not saying that they aren't held back by hardware limitations. I'm sure that is part of it. In the performance issues, that's a whole other issue. I'm talking about, and I think what you're talking about, is literally the design of the world. Like, there's not...
Oh, yeah.
You could make interesting architecture. Here's the thing. This world is not like randomly generated or procedurally generated. So they can't use that excuse of, oh, it's a little bland because, it's, just procedural generated landscaping. They made this landscape. They made this map in an editor. You're telling me they couldn't have made it a little more interesting? Have interesting looking valleys that lead to a certain place. Like, they have valleys, but they're literally just valleys with no rhyme or reason. Or there's a mountain, and it's just a mountain. It's not a mountain that leads to something interesting or looks a certain way or does something interesting that some art direction or that some level design could have actually taken into account. I don't feel like there's level design here if that makes sense. And
No,
that's probably
there
not
is
being
not.
fair. There probably are some parts in there that are a little more curated. Like you're showing, like I'm looking at one area in your screen now. Oh, well, it's gone now. Crap.
Well, that's interesting. You just said there is no the level design. I agree with you. It doesn't feel like there's much level design or
But like
thought.
this spot you're going into, so there is this little mining area that's used for a battle. So and clearly that was curated. It's not super interesting, but they did something there. But there's very few instances of stuff like that. Like for the most part, it is just bland landscape, grassy area, bland with it, whatever this is. So I think an open world could still work. Is I think what I'm getting at here with time in the design oven, if you want to look at it that way. If they could curate it a little better, open world could be great. And there are open world games that have done a better job at it. Like, I know some people act like Breath of the Wild is a little bland because it's so open and a little barren, but there are memorable pieces of architecture and landscape in Breath of the Wild that I can still think back and be like, oh, I remember those Twin Peaks. Remember the ones that had the big split down the middle? Or I remember the big labyrinth zone in the back corner, or like the forest area. Like, there's spots that stand out that the Switch can obviously handle. That was a big world, bigger than this game. Like, that map was bigger than this game. I'm almost certain of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't feel like it. You could argue that maybe it isn't as populated, but I'm not even so sure if that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, but making that stuff requires a very rich and valuable company behind it to make. I don't know if Game Freak can afford that type of game design and.
I know.
I don't know. They've been around for a long time. I'm sure they could do what they want.
I don't know. They've only sold 10 million.
It's only the
copies of
largest
man.
entertainment IP in the world. I don't know. I'm never one to come down hard on developers act like they're being lazy because I don't think that's the case. Like I think the team at Game Freak is working their butts off. In 3 years, they've made 3 Pokemon games. More than that, I think.
I think the problem is that they pop out too many Pokemon games too quickly. I think it's the Madden effect where there's not much development time to really do a heck of a whole lot.
They probably don't have enough teams in
They
there
don't have
either,
enough
too.
people. That's what this
Like,
is.
they
And
don't
that's
have
where
enough.
the argument that you're saying that, oh, all these money bags should be coming into play. Like, I think their team, and somebody can correct me if they know for sure, I think it's like 200 people, which sounds like a lot. But when you think about some of the big AAA studios out there, there are thousands of people.
Thousands, yeah.
And that's where they should be at. Game Freak, if what I heard is true and it's really only 200 people, they need to scale up, like, immensely. They have the resources to do so. I'm not sure what the rationale...
They make the money to do so too. That's impossible. That they can't
I'm
hire
not
another.
sure what the rationale
set-
is that they don't have 3 separate teams of 200 people working on games.
The rationale is that they can afford to not spend that money and still sell 10 million copies.
Yeah, because that probably is the rationale, but
that is the rationale.
I'll tell you though, I think that's gonna start changing. Like, I'm not saying that this game hasn't sold a buttload and isn't still gonna make them, buku bucks even with all the issues it's had. This game, I think, more than any other, has been the most vocal and biggest. I think what's a good way to say is tarnish on Nintendo's.
IGN gave it like a 6 out of, or I guess they'll say it right here.
I think it was like 7. I think it was 6 or 7.
Which is really rare for freaking. It's really rare
the
for a Pokemon game to be that low.
It's the lowest mainline Pokemon game. And you have situations where Nintendo were forced to give refunds on the game and all this other stuff. So I think there's been a big enough tarnish on this game that's going to make Game Freak or Nintendo, one or the other, do something differently. I really, really hope so. If they really just kind of brush this under the rug and just push forward, I'm hesitant that I want to continue supporting that. I don't know.
Well, you said the development cycle should mean that the good aspects of Arceus should start showing up in the next game or two. So
I would be hopeful. See, I'm hoping that they don't have another spin-off like Arceus. I know some people are thinking they're going to have another Legends-like game. I don't think that should be the case. I think Legends was a chance for them to experiment that they hopefully learned a lot from. I also don't really want to see them do a remake. I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, they're going to remake, Black and White next or something like that. I'm hoping they skip that generation and they just work on the mainline game. Wait 2 or 3 years. I'm fine waiting no Pokemon games for 3 years. I'm not saying that they're going to want to do this, but take their time.
Madden people have been saying that for years, that they want EA to take a few years to work on development. And
To be fair though, I mean, well, not to be fair. I agree with that point.
Look how much better this looks.
Oh, you're showing Arceus.
Yeah, this looks
It's the cell
so much
shading.
better.
It makes it look stylized, even though it still technically looks like crap in a lot of areas. Like the textures are still crappy. Like in the environment, honestly, looks about.
This looks tons better
Because of the shading and the cell shading. Like that's what makes it look nicer. Because technically, the geometry and the way the worlds are created still look kind of crappy. They look about like how it does in Violet and Scarlet, but the cell shading masks a lot of it.
I think gamer needs to play this game. I really.
You're convincing me to play it after all the.
I loved Arceus.
You're hyping
The
it
Mega
apart,
Pokemon
so
were really good. Like, I like it
You
more.
watch our review. That was like the first episode we did was talk about Arceus. Our very first podcast episode was a review on it, and we talked about it for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, like this. I like this far more after playing Scarlet and Violet.
7? Really?
Yeah, because it had performance issues. Like it had issues, and it had some elements that weren't fleshed out either. But in compare, I think people were just assuming like, oh well, the next game is going to polish out all that stuff. But now looking back, this game should have been like an 8 or a 9, may not 9.
Yeah,
But this
I
should have been at
agree.
least an 8, comparative to what we have right now in Scarlet and Violet. But, all right, I'll wrap it up. I know I'm talking way too long, and it is late for us.
Yep, I do agree. But yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, we touched on a bunch of topics. We even got a new or some breaking news in there. I'll definitely try and do some sort. I'm gonna post that tomorrow night by itself, so we can. By tomorrow, I think everyone's gonna be talking about that. So we'll at least have a news topic out same day as everyone else, pretty much. But yeah. So what do you guys got going on? Any other games or anything else you're looking at?
I'm still playing Pokemon a little bit. I had to talk crap about it, but I'm trying to see if there's any more in-game or anything to get into. I'll be honest, I'm not coming across much, but I'm trying to milk it.
I'm playing Pokemon, and I want to go back to Pentiment and try to knock that out. I do think for the holidays, I was thinking of playing. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get in Callisto Protocol before the end of the year. I mean, I do want to play it.
Heard a lot about that game.
Yeah. I was wanting to. I think I want to play Kingdom Hearts for the holiday. I think that's going to be like my stream I try to do for around Christmas time because I never finished it. What about you, gamer? You got anything?
Probably finish Dread just to get it over with, and then I got a couple of games that I picked up from like GameStop for like super cheap, so I might either want to hit one of those. It's like I think it's like Code Vein or some other games there.
I
saw another one.
I hate to tell you, Metal, you're not gonna get to play any of those games. For those who don't know, Metal's Misses is about to pop.
Oh yeah.
So when that happens, man, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna have game time.
Maybe I'll do what you did and just play nothing but the Switch.
Well, actually, okay. So to be fair, when my daughter was born 3 years ago, it was when the Switch came out in Breath of the Wild. The only way I could play was because it was a Switch. I slept with my daughter on my chest, and I played the Switch while holding her half the time. So
that sounds like a way of doing it.
So you might be able to make that work, but I doubt you're going to get a whole lot of PlayStation or Xbox time in.
We're not even sure if Gamer will be able to make the next episode, but we'll see. I mean, I know Game Awards is in a couple days, so we'll have post-Game Awards coverage on the next episode. I'm not quite sure. We have something that's called the ChazZs, which we're going to be doing on the next episode, or possibly next, maybe. I'm not sure. But sometime at the end of December, beginning of January, we're going to have our own little award show where we can kind of talk about what our favorite stuff of from the year was. But yeah, anything else you guys got to say before we head on out?
Nope, I'm it. It's late. Go to bed.
Nope. I'm good.
I agree.
Crawl back in my attic.
Yep, attic. You back in the basement. Where I gotta have lore. Where am I living?
You're in the house. You're like in
the house.
Yeah, you're the filling of our sandwich, right?
I was gonna say you're in the refrigerator eating.
I'm like I'm Slimer, just hanging out over there.
Gross.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. We love you. Of course, we can't wait to see you on the next episode. Do you guys have anything to say? You want to say your goodbyes?
We already did. Bye.
Yay! Bye.
Hey, guys.